620 CKRM.
Well, good afternoon, Saskatchewan, and welcome to a Monday edition of the Sports Cage. The final Monday of February is here. It's the 23rd day of the month. Dave Thomas filling in for Tegan Whitco, who's a little under the weather today, and I'm not sure whether it's an Olympic fever or maybe a Team Canada hangover. You can go ahead and decide amongst yourselves what it may be, but there truly is a lot of Olympic fever going on around Saskatchewan and, of course, around the country. And we're going to explore that throughout the course of the program today, find out who did what in the world of sports, and hear from some special guests like Daniella Ponticelli, who was in the midst of the Olympic spirit, calling games, not only in hockey, but in a sport that not many Canadians knew, but you would have thought, listening to her broadcast that event, that she had been doing it all her life. Fantastic job by Daniella. We're going to hear from her. Coming up a little bit later as well, we'll head to Edmonton and Morley Scott, who is the voice of the Edmonton Elks. We're going to get updated on what's happening with the Elks and what the feeling is around the team after a number of free agent signings, of course, including former Saskatchewan Roughrider rush end Malik Carney. We'll hear from him and get his take, which is a little out there when it comes to the Olympic Games and the men's hockey final between Canada and the U.S. Darian Durant is going to join us as we explore a topic that is circling around Connor McDavid and a label that Darian once himself may have had. That's coming up just after 5 o'clock, and then a special celebration for one Regina Pats player over the weekend. We will celebrate with him today here on the Sports Cage on a Monday. But as we get going, we invite you to join us all the time. Of course, the Prairieland Rentals text line is always open for you to join us, talk sports, ask any questions of our guests that you may want to ask or know at 306-936-6262. I would assume that a lot of people are still talking today about the United States defeating Canada 2-1 in overtime in the gold medal game at the Olympic Hockey Championships in Italy on the weekend.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
Are we really going to assume that?
That is my assumption. Okay. I know you should never assume Colson Schultz, who's pushing the buttons today, but I would suggest that that's a fairly safe bet. So if I was sprinkling, like we will later for Sports Select in the sprinkle of the day, I would suggest that many of us are still reliving that moment and that experience that we had on Sunday morning, bright and early, 7 o'clock Saskatchewan time. The question that I have, good friend of the radio station, Brett Kissel, did you see his adventure? He was trying to make it to Italy for the express purpose of getting to the gold medal game. He discovered a way that he could get into the venue, and he just had to get there. But then he had 1, 2, 3 different delays, and all of a sudden his social media isn't talking about whether or not he got there or not. Do we want to sprinkle on what that might mean?
I mean, if you ask some Oilers fans, that probably means he made it there.
Yeah, some of them would. Some of them would probably, some Oilers fans would blame it on him and the curse of Kissel, which they talk about in Edmonton, right?
Yeah. No, I didn't see that he was trying to do that, but it doesn't surprise me. He probably wasn't the only one.
No, I bet you there was a fair share of Canadians that were trying to get there. And I saw different pictures from a friend of mine who's actually Arash Madani. He's out in London doing some work this week. And he was in London, England, and he thought, I'm going to go down to the Canadian pub and watch the game.
That's what everyone else thought too, wasn't it?
That was everyone else. Yeah. And scenes like that were replicated across Canada. But also I saw pictures of Paris, France, where there were a ton of Canadians that were trying to get in and see the game. Not only there, but in Belgium, of all places. And again, that might just be the friends that I've got on social media and the algorithm catching up to me. But Belgium, I'm like, okay, cool. Didn't know there'd be a lot of Canadians there.
They like us over there. When we talked with Suits when he was on his tour through Europe with his buddy, that was that this offseason or last offseason?
Last offseason. I think
that was last offseason, yeah. Yeah, no, Belgium and the Netherlands, they really appreciate the Canadians up there. So that doesn't fully surprise me.
So let's talk about the game itself. Canada, again, give up one chance early on, and the Americans bury on a great individual effort. The Canadians, try as they might, just could not find the equalizer until finally Cale Makar bulges the twine in the second period. The Canadians had a 5-on-3 power play they didn't score on. Nathan McKinnon had not one but 2 different empty nets. We had a couple of posts along the way, but we were tied at 1 going into overtime where it's a 3-on-3 format, and the Americans, they got the goal. Some would suggest that Connor McDavid was a little bit selfish in trying to split the D, going for the golden goal himself. But I think that's kind of the way you play it. You got to go for it if it's there. And then the Americans turned it back the other way. They got a break. Jack Hughes, who had a couple of teeth knocked out, giving the Americans a power play that they didn't score on, by the way, after the Canadians should have been awarded a power play for too many men on the ice. I know these are all sour grapes, aren't they?
Yeah.
But the golden goal.
Well, before we get there, you just got to say, good job, Hellebuck.
Well, and again, Connor Hellebuck for years in Winnipeg has been dubbed the guy that can't win the big game.
Yep.
Kind of like Jordan Binnington prior to the Four Nations tournament last year. This time around, Connor Hellebuck, and he shone over 40 shots in regulation. He was clutch in overtime, making the big stop before the Americans scored. Not to mention the paddle save heard round the world, which you're showing on our stream at sportscage.com, X, and YouTube.
Yeah, because I can show pictures, but not videos. But this picture speaks loud enough.
Yeah, Devon Taves, wide open net, and some way, somehow, the paddle gets back from Connor Hellebuck, who was pretty coy with reporters after the fact, said, oh yeah, you saw the save. You know what it was all about. And I'm like, yes, we did.
Yeah.
So we asked at sportscage.com, it is our poll question, did Canada deserve a better fate? And so far, leading the way with over 63% of the vote, no, Canada couldn't come up with a clutch goal, so they didn't deserve a better fate. Do you agree?
The way you said that, it's confusing my brain now, so I got to go look up the question myself.
Well, because if you think about it, right, they did dominate play. They were dominant in regulation. They gave up. The scoring chances were, I think, 3-1 in favor of the Canadians when you look at the ratio. So did they deserve a better fate? Or are you okay to say, nah, they didn't get the job done. They weren't clutch when they had to, which, of course, reminds me, we will get to our clutch performer coming up at 4:30 for Kellen Solar. But they just didn't get the job done when they had to, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, and like you said, shots 3-1 in almost every hockey game. One or two of those should go in. We mentioned the couple posts on open nets. Hellebuck stopping, how many? What did it end up being? 41?
Yeah.
41 of 42? That's just a really, really good game for a goalie. Right?
It is, absolutely.
And Hellebuck has those games. None of us are surprised, really,
no.
Right?
And in a one-game showdown, right, your goaltender can win you an advancement in a playoff. They can win you a medal. And that's maybe what Connor Hellebuck did there for the most part.
Exactly. So
now for the part of this whole thing that I fear may get me kicked out of the country. Nobody wants to be the villain. And I'm going to bring this up with Morley Scott because he was quite outspoken on this, and this is coming up after 4 o'clock when I talk to him. I'm going to ask him point blank what he thinks about 3-on-3 overtime.
Oh.
Because all the air quote experts, right? Oh, I never liked 3-on-3. 3-on-3 is terrible. 3-on-3 is horrible. It's killing the game. It's ruining the hockey. It's not real hockey because it's not 5-on-5. And again, this is where I welcome your responses on the Prairie Land Rentals text line, as I am willing to throw myself out there on this one at 306-936-6262. Or, hey, call the phone number. We'll talk to you on the air. We'd love to do that. 3-on-3 overtime hockey, I don't think is a bad thing. Now, the experts are going to go out and they're going to say, like I said, it's not real hockey. It's not 5-on-5. It's gimmicky. It's not the true sport. It's not the true game. Now, don't kid yourself. Everybody in Hockey Canada, before they even arrived in Italy, knew what the format was for the gold medal game and that it was going to be a 3-on-3 overtime.
Yeah.
I like it. Because, and I'm going to throw this out there, because is really 5-on-5 play till the death, right? In a game that can go on forever. Is that really hockey?
Sort of.
You're not using your whole bench. Your fourth line is not going to play in overtime.
Depends on how many overtimes you've played, but yeah.
Okay. Your fourth line, they're not going to play in overtime. The officials, and again, this has been my argument for a long time, and there's a lot of people that disagree with me, but my opinion is my opinion, and I'll own it. So if you don't like it, let me know. But if you watch overtime in an NHL Stanley Cup playoff game, it absolutely resembles nothing like what the first 3 periods were like, or even remotely close to what a regular season game looks like. Because the standard of officiating and gameplay changes. It changes from the regular season to the playoffs. It changes from the playoffs to overtime in the playoffs. That's not real hockey either. Like, why should you be able to trip someone? Why should you be able to hook, hold, tackle in overtime? Well, because we don't want to go ahead and we don't want to dictate the outcome of the game by making a call.
I hear what you're saying. And if it's something as blatant as that, absolutely that should be called, because you're not dictating it. That team did by tripping them.
Yes, but again, it doesn't get called. I'm going to throw that out there. Continue on, though.
Yeah, but yeah, I hear what you're saying. The standard absolutely does change. I think, again, in a perfect situation, you want 5-on-5 because that is quote-unquote real hockey. But with the way that you are painting things, which is, I would submit, close to reality, yeah. Things get called differently. Things get...
Close to reality. Okay, fair enough.
Hey, I'm not going to say we all see things perfectly, Dave.
Mm-hmm, fair enough.
Yeah, I see your argument, and I'm not going to disagree with you on that. I still think, especially for the gold medal, you probably should do 5-on-5, but knowing the Olympics and they've got their strict timeline of we've got a TV show to run, they're probably never going to do that.
Okay, but I would even go a step further. Like, I'd bring it to North America, right? The NHL adopted the European shootout. We seem to be okay with that in regulation.
Again, in regular season.
Okay.
When the hockey matters in the playoffs, everyone wants pure hockey.
And if you're playing 3-on-3, though, and so again, the pure hockey, if you're playing 3-on-3, there's a ton of strategy that's got to go into it.
Yeah.
Right? You got to know as a coach who you're going to put on the ice, how you're going to win the faceoff, how are you going to set it up, right? It's a puck possession game. There's no more chip and chase, dump and run over the guy in the corner. Mm-hmm. It is pure skill, 3-on-3, I would submit.
Yeah, which suits some teams more than others, because some teams like to play the heavy-handed game where you've got more physical players out there. But once you're 3-on-3, you got to be fast. You got to be quick around the ice because there's so much room, especially if you're playing someone like Connor McDavid or Macklin Celebrini, and they're just running away from you.
See, and that's just it, right? In the regular season, with the National Hockey League, you've got Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, and the list goes on and on with the Edmonton Oilers. And trust me, I'm not an Oilers fan. But you got to give respect where respect is due. And if you're not allowed to hook, hold, tackle these guys in the playoffs, like, you can't do that in the regular season, but if you do that in the playoffs, it's an entirely different game. So you build your team for regular season success, in my opinion, or playoff success in the National Hockey League. And you're hoping that your team that you build for playoff success is going to be just successful enough in the regular season that you can make a run. See the Florida Panthers, 2-time Stanley Cup champions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm just going to leave that there.
Before we move on, while we were talking overtime, this was my clutch performer on Thursday last week with Brendan, and I just kind of want to see your reaction to it.
All right.
Cottage Grove and St. Paul U12 girls team in Minnesota. I don't know if it was the final or a semifinal. I'm assuming it was the final. Guess how many overtime periods they played?
Probably 9.
12.
Oh, I was going to go 12 too. Okay.
Started on Monday, played the game, 6 overtimes, postponed, went back Tuesday, played 4 more overtimes, postponed, went back Wednesday, played 2 more overtimes, and Tuesday to Wednesday, in between Tuesday and Wednesday, the league was like, okay, if you hit 12, you're going to a shootout.
Wow.
So they went to a shootout. Cottage Grove won in a shootout? Wow. Yeah, Cottage Grove won in a shootout. I'm like, man, like, those goalies need an award. I'm assuming they didn't switch goalies, but like...
Yeah, that would be something.
Anyways, I just wanted to see your reaction.
I appreciate that. 12, yeah. And then all of a sudden the league steps in. Yeah, now just so you know, it's gone on too long.
Yeah.
Just saying.
12 is too much.
Gary Bettman's in charge of that too. No, I'm just kidding. Jokes. On our YouTube chat, of course, you can chime in there. Bulls fan 2K7. Why does it go from 5-on-5 to 3-on-3? Why not 4-on-4? That makes sense too, right? I could get on board with that. Go from 5-on-5 after regulation to 4-on-4 for 20 and then 3-on-3 for 20. We know that it probably won't get that far. Just saying. But that's a great point. Again, want to hear from you on the text line at 306-936-6262. You can give us a call, that number as well. And also, the other thing we're going to kick around is Connor McDavid kind of threw it out there. Does he now wear the horns of not being able to get it done in the big game? 2 losses successively in the Stanley Cup final, and now doesn't win the gold medal in the Olympics. Just saying. Just saying. Overall, Canada did finish 8th in the medal standings, by the way, earning 21 medals, 5 gold after collecting 13 in the second half of the games. However, it's the first time since 1994 that Canada has placed outside the top 5 at our Winter Olympics. Are you happy with the performance of our athletes at the Olympics? So many of those are one-offs, right? You don't get a series. You don't get a second chance. And that's a tough one, for sure. Tough one. Also, on the go today, news out of Riderville. The Saskatchewan Roughriders are going to be holding a lottery for their season ticket holders for an opportunity to get a tailgating spot on the real grounds. It's pretty cool. $50 a game, and you go ahead, you bring your own food, your own beverages, and you sit back, relax, and tailgate galore before each and every Rider home game. If you're not a season ticket holder, that's okay too, because you can also go ahead and sign up today to become a season ticket holder to get in on that lottery. I think it's pretty cool and a unique idea that we've been talking about for a long time here on this program. Also should mention the Riders did add former Auburn Tigers punter Oscar Chapman today. So he will attend training camp and try to vie for a spot on the Riders team in their special teams unit. Prairie Junior Hockey League playoffs are underway. Tonight, Pilot Butte and Moosomin are taking in Game 2 of their 3-game set. Moosomin on the ropes, having lost the first game on that one. The final under 18, I almost said the other word, under 18 AAA spot is open when it comes to the playoffs and will be decided tonight. It's a play-in game almost of sorts. We'll talk a little bit about that. It's National Curling Day today in our country. The Brier starts on Friday in St. John's, Newfoundland, Labrador. Kelly Knapp is going to be representing Saskatchewan, as is Mike McEwen. Knapp, of course, earned his way in by winning the Tankard here in the province, and now for his troubles, he gets the absolute worst schedule at the Brier. He doesn't play on opening night. He doesn't play on opening day in the opening draw for his pool, so he gets his first bye in the first draw, meaning that then he plays each and every draw all the way through to the end. Like, there is no breaks for Kelly Knapp going all the way through. Toughest schedule bar none. Agreed. So, thoughts on that? We'll try to break that Brier down for you as the program goes along this afternoon. If you're a lacrosse fan, Saskatchewan Rush improved to 9-1. Robert Church scored his 950th point to become the franchise's all-time leading scorer in that 14-6 victory in Philadelphia. The Rush have got their work cut out for them this weekend. Back-to-back games in 2 different American cities. We will watch that for you as they get closer to the weekend on that one. I should mention some sad news from the world of hockey. Nipawin product. Guile Fielder and Saskatchewan Hockey Hall of Fame inductee passed away suddenly over the weekend, and we send our wishes and well wishes and thoughts to his friends and family. He began with the Prince Albert Mintos in 1948, went on to a 22-year Western Hockey League career, highlighted by winning the league championship 3 times with the Seattle Totems. Guile Fielder passing away suddenly over the weekend. So again, our thoughts and condolences to his friends. It is the 23rd day of February, as mentioned. Too Tall Jones. That's going to mean absolutely nothing to Colson.
I believe I recognize that name.
Get out.
Was he an NFL player?
He was. 15 seasons.
There we go. That's about the extent of my knowledge.
Dallas Cowboys, 6'9", 271. 6'9" defensive end. You think Willie Jefferson's got some arms on him? Ed Too Tall Jones.
That's probably all the film he watched growing up.
Yeah.
Was on Too Tall.
Yeah. First overall selection of the Dallas Cowboys in 1974. He turned 75 today. Also, you don't know this one. Skippy. You don't even know the show Family Ties, do you?
I know the name. I don't know the show, no.
No, Michael J. Fox starred in it.
There we go.
And Skippy was the friend of Mallory. Like, not romantic friend, just the friend. And if you know, you know. When it comes to Mark Price and Skippy. Today he turns 58. And it was 25 years ago today. Ready for this one? The Saskatchewan Roughriders and the CFL held their draft 25 years ago on this day, February the 23rd. And this courtesy of Rob Vanstone.
Okay.
25 years ago, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, with the second overall selection, chose Dan Farthing.
Oh.
Current strength and conditioning coach. Now, the Riders didn't originally have that second overall draft pick. They had to trade 2 selections to the BC Lions in order to trade up to get that pick, with Dan Farthing to keep him at home here in the province after a standout career with the University of Saskatchewan. But sometimes it's funny to think, can you imagine what might have been had Dan Farthing been drafted by the BC Lions?
I mean, I can't imagine, but...
Like, how different might it have been? Again, it might have been Jason Claremont all over, whom I saw yesterday at the hockey rink, by the way.
There you go.
But, again, if Jason Claremont was a Saskatchewan Roughrider for his entire career, could you imagine the numbers that he would put up? Again, excellent career as a BC Lions, came home to finish his career with the Roughriders. Pretty cool. On the Prairie Land Rentals text line, again, Prairie Land Rentals and sales since 1986 for big or small jobs. Stop in and deal with the owner, 600 Albert Street. Snowblowers and skid steers, power sources, moving equipment. They've got it all. First and foremost, let's eliminate the loser point. This is from Jeffrey. The shootout and do 3-on-3. Until someone scores regular season and playoffs, it's exciting and will lead to quicker overtimes. No more 3 overtime periods. So getting rid of the loser point in regulation in the NHL. See, I think that's a great idea. Or you do what they do in international hockey. You get a win and you get 3 points. You get a win in overtime or a shootout, you get 2 points. And then there's no more ties. Right?
Yeah, I could get behind that too.
So, but you would get there would be a loser point in that scenario though. Because you get an overtime loss or shootout loss point.
Or then you just do a win is 2, an overtime or shootout win is 1, and then a loser doesn't get any points no matter what. That's the other option.
No, absolutely. But I think instead of a 3-point game is always a 3-point game, right? Because right now in the NHL, the winning team can get 2, the losing team can get 1.
Yeah.
So instead, you make that 1 point more valuable in regulation. I bet you have better, quicker, later results, right? In the last 10 minutes, teams aren't slowing down, right? Playing defense to get that 1 point.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting point. From Ed Stevens, it looks like. Connor McDavid, as a captain, can't win when there's something on the line. Alluding to Connor McDavid's leadership perhaps being an issue? I don't know. I'm not inside the room. Did you watch that Edmonton Oilers documentary the year after they lost their first Stanley Cup? Sorry, that sounds terrible. The year after they lost their most recent Stanley Cup.
Like, on the one hand, I feel like you're just trying to rub this in, but then I remember you're a Canucks fan, so I don't know if it's really rubbing it in or not. But yes, I do remember the documentary.
So, again, it kind of gave you a glimpse into his leadership style and the amount of respect that there was for him in the locker room. Mm. But I'm just saying.
And the other thing, too, was like, yeah, as much as McDavid was a leader on this team, it was Crosby's team.
Oh. Yeah, I think so.
So, like, yes, McDavid was one of the alternate captains and was the captain for the last 2 games wearing the C, but you got to believe that Crosby was still there in the locker room, not pulling strings. That's not the word I'm looking for, but still, like, leading the guys, leading the charge, if you would. At least for a guy who's never been in a hockey locker room as a player or any other way. That would be my take. But
okay. Paul here. McDavid ? Last I checked, hockey was a team sport. Can't hang the loss on him. We won every aspect of the game. Unfortunately, it didn't show up on the scoreboard. But again, are we saying that he's the guy that can't win the big game? That's what Connor Hellebuck had to wear. And then I think it's Dean, not because Canada lost, but I don't like 3-on-3 for a championship game. A team that plays hard for 60 minutes to get to overtime may not be suited for 3-on-3. It's a completely different game. Perhaps if they tweak the rules a little bit better, I think they would enforce an over and back rule. A team cannot retreat more than 1 line back. Again, the whole puck possession thing and idea, I completely get that with what you're saying, Dean. He says this would eliminate the casual skate back 3/4 of the rink, which is not entertaining in any way. True. And valid. But more of your thoughts to come as they're flooding in now on the Prairieland Rentals text line 306-936-6262 on our YouTube chat, and of course on X as well. But we need to take our first break as we are going to be joined very shortly by Daniella Ponticelli, who is fresh off her Olympic experience, which from my standpoint, getting a chance to watch was extraordinary. We'll hear from her next. You're watching the Sports Cage. Of course, we're streaming on X, YouTube, and SportsCage.com, and listening on the radio, celebrating 100 years. This is 620 CKRM. It is the final Monday of February, and this is the Sports Cage on 620 CKRM, and streaming across the world at 620CKRM.com and SportsCage.com. Again, you can have your say, weigh in, let us know what you're thinking on this Monday. Dave Thomas is in for Tegan Whitco. Tegan's got the Olympic fever or something like that. She will be back very, very soon, we hope, and wish her very well. Colson Schultz is pushing the buttons, and it is time to actually maybe get to someone who truly does have Olympic fever. At least I wouldn't blame her as we head out in the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. It's the pizza that's known worldwide for a reason, loaded with toppings of Western Canadian ingredients and always cooked to perfection. First of all, we ask you, Daniella Ponticelli, please take a bow. Your performance over the Olympics was absolutely nothing short of sensational. I hope you enjoyed it, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much. I did. It was a wild ride, and I can confidently say I don't have an Olympic fever, which I have to say, though, when you know that you've been assigned and you're going to do this, that's one of the things that kind of weighs on you is like, gotta stay healthy, gotta stay healthy, gotta stay healthy. I'm assuming that's what every athlete is thinking. But the same goes for broadcasters. You don't want to have to miss out on this opportunity because you're under the weather. So made it through, feeling good. And of course, I wish Tegan well as well. We were texting earlier, so I just hope she's feeling better.
Awesome to tell you that you were stuck with me. So that was good to give you the proper heads up because everybody knows that. So now that the experience is done, have you had a chance? I know we're only 24 hours out. Have you had a chance to take a deep exhale and look back at what you've achieved and what your teammates that provided Olympic coverage to our nation achieved?
I'm so glad you mentioned the team because it's quite an impressive undertaking when you get to see how it all works behind the scenes and how many people are on the ground, how many people are feeding information, and you're always working as a group. So I'm glad you shouted them out. I feel like I've been able to take a little bit of stock, but it is one of those things where you suddenly feel like, am I doing enough? Because that's what it's been like the last several months where, you know, have I chipped away at some prep? Have I checked rosters? Do I know who's been qualified? Because that's one of the things about the Olympics is that a lot of stuff happens last minute when it comes to even knowing who's competing. So there's kind of like this period of time where you're preparing this general sort of sense of, okay, we know the countries who are coming in. I'm talking about for the hockey tournament. And then it's all about trying to sort out who will be there. And you kind of have a good sense of who might be there. But it's super fun. And it's pretty... Yeah, I've had lots of those times, Dave, because I was thinking back to 4 years ago when the last Winter Olympics happened, and I was working in Saskatchewan and starting to call hockey, and even working with you as a rinkside reporter on SJHL broadcasts and things like that, and just kind of wetting my feet in that space. So yeah, there's been a lot of reflecting back to how these last 4 years alone have shaped up.
Daniella Ponticelli is joining us. Again, you heard her voice, which is now going to become synonymous with Olympic moments, which is pretty cool because that stuff lives forever. You could tell the amount of work that went into your preparation for your broadcast. Were you ever at any time, though, I know with a live sporting event, you would never think that, hey, I get a dress rehearsal, but did you have an opportunity to do rehearsal games beforehand with your colleagues that you got to work with?
Well, the good thing is I work with Becky Keller very frequently in the PWHL, and we were paired together for many games heading up to this. But I would say the sort of dress rehearsal that you're talking about kind of happened in the 3 Women's World Championships that we worked together previous, because they're structured very similarly to an Olympic tournament, and so many of the same countries are coming, with the exception of host nation Italy. France as well is not in that top division of the Women's World Championship. So there's some differences, but not many. You know, the Group A is the Group A and the Group B is very similar. So there was this familiarity and this understanding of what it's like. And depending on where it's held, there have been times when we have been there in person. In the case of the Olympics, a lot of Canadian broadcasters work out of the broadcast center in Toronto. And so it's just an interesting dynamic of needing to live and breathe on Italian time, but you're here. And while you're kind of living your regular life, you're not living your regular life. So, there's so many fascinating parts to that, but we've been through this. And I can tell you, like, we've called tournaments that have been out in Finland, and the time difference is even more extreme. So, you kind of like look at things and you go, okay, at least it was 6 a.m. for most games to start versus a 4 a.m. start, which means you're there at 2 a.m., things like that. So no complaints on that. And I would say that those events absolutely prepared us for what we were stepping into.
So you brought up the broadcast center in Toronto, which you were working out of, and a number of athletes talk about, the athlete village is such a cool experience to meet people from different walks of life and different sports. Now, Joanne Courtney and her social media would take us behind her coffee break run for the fifth end break. I'm glad she didn't
Which
run over
I
anybody.
witnessed in person a few times. I would just see her sprinting out of I'm like, Joanne, and she just bolting.
I'm thinking somebody's got to get the girl a Keurig, but did you have an opportunity to meet other broadcasters along the way that was maybe a same experience to the athletes?
Yeah, I guess, and thank you for bringing that up. That is kind of, you look at what opportunities are there in this sort of different kind of environment, and that would be an absolute plus and a pro. I'll never forget walking in, I think it was morning day 2, and there's one other person in this massive dining hall, and we're both sort of reaching for the sugar at the same time for our coffee, and it's just Ron McLean, it was such an interesting experience to kind of be around that, and there's still a part of me that fangirls a little bit. Like Jennifer Jones, I was working in Winnipeg when she was on her epic runs that she had at Sochi, and so I interviewed her kind of during the prep time for that, and so to see her now in the broadcast, that was so cool. So there's always that little part of me that's also just excited to meet and talk with people, and then having some discussions with, okay, how was your sport today? Like for some of the other play-by-play folks and what they went through, and just seeing that joy, and then meeting people I never thought I would meet. Like I have to give all the credit to the two Inuktitut announcers. They must have called the most combined hockey of anybody, because they were there for day 1 of the women's tournament, which started 2 days before the Olympics, and they went all the way through to that Sunday gold medal game for the Canadian men. And it was impressive what they were doing to bring that broadcast to people in Canada's north, people who speak Inuktitut. I just thought it was beautiful. So it was really interesting to meet so many broadcasters doing so many important things across our country.
I am going to ask you about the highlight or the call that you made that you love the most. Before we get to that, it may be the same one as I had, because watching on social media, some people call it trolling, some people call it stalking. You use what you want, but I loved the video that you posted on a power play late in a hockey game that had not only the pictures of the hockey game occurring, but your call and your excitement, because you could hear it in your voice and then you got to see it firsthand, which I thought was really cool.
That game, so that game was Czechia and Sweden in what to me is the closest quarterfinal to be expected, right? It's when you have the, one of the closest. You also expect the 2 Group A teams who are meeting in the quarters to be close. But we figured that the skill from the Swedes that we saw throughout their Group B dominance was going to match up nicely with that third in Group A team. So we were expecting a tight game. It was very tight. And the Czechs were the team that everyone thought might even spoil the party for Canada to get to the final. So they had pretty high expectations. And so to have them then be on the precipice of not even being able to push for a medal, this is what we're at. And so I think that game in particular was a real highlight for me. And I think it might also have been the game in which I had the most sleep, Dave. So that always helps. All the other games I was very sleep deprived, but we had the day off before. There was no women's hockey the day before. So, you kind of take the wind with that as you will. I did get to call a number of the U.S. games. Those are kind of fun in their own way, just because I'm so familiar with the U.S. players, being that they're in the PWHL. So there's lots of storytelling. But in terms of close games, I think that one would be the highlight. for sure. And then to be able to say, Sweden's going to the semifinal for the first time in 12 years is always, there's always those moments. I also did some ski cross, and that was really neat. Unfortunately, Canada did not fare well in ski cross. They were out in the quarters, but lots of history was made. Italy won its first medal in that sport. So those moments always feel kind of just extra good, extra exciting.
You and Tegan must have got on the same wavelength here, because ski cross is what I was about to ask you about, because I was once told as a broadcaster that, for example, I've never played the game of basketball. I couldn't make a 3-point shot to save my life. Like, you would want to sprinkle against me every chance you get on that. But I think the ultimate compliment is that it sounds like you had participated in ski cross your entire life. And the broadcasting advice I got was make it sound like you've done it. Do enough homework to make it sound like you've done it. So how did you do it?
That's a really great question, because sometimes I'm like, I don't know. No, as soon as you find out that you're going to be doing this, I treat it as though I know absolutely nothing. So even if I've seen, and I'd seen a couple broadcasts here and there, because CBC Sports does show, especially alpine skiing. They show a lot of skiing on weekends, for example. Mm-hmm. So I had a little bit of familiarity with it. But first things first, I just go into it as though I know nothing. I start with a simple Google of tell me the absolute basics of the sport. And once you kind of get that and you get that sense, then it's just adding in layers. Okay, then I'll go and watch a broadcast and I take a ton of notes, whether it's, okay, I don't understand this. That makes sense. Wait, is this the reason why this makes sense? All of those things, how long does an athlete need to be doing the sport before they can reach that World Cup stage where they're on the circuit, all of those sort of things. And then it just goes back to more research, but also talking to people who've done it. And of course, knowing that I was getting to work with Canadian gold medalist, silver medalist as well, 3-time Olympian Kelsey Serwa, that was a phenomenal resource. So just being able to talk to her about what does it feel like? And that's the thing too. She is going to bring so much of that to our broadcast. So it's just a matter of supporting her and making sure that all of that gets shared. And then just enjoying the thrill ride that is a 4-skier race in insane conditions half the time. And you're hurling down a mountain. It's just incredible. It's pretty impressive to see. So I think that's the approach that I would take for that. And then when you have to learn games, a higher level game that you might not have played at that level, then it just takes a bit more time. And I'm a full on, I will read a rule book top to bottom if I have to, right? Yeah. It's so much. It's kind of funny sometimes. I'm like, there's a lot of just studying as though I was back in university or something. But yeah.
Okay, I don't want to be rude or presumptuous, and I apologize if I was. Have you ever taken part in a ski cross event?
No,
okay,
no. I have skied. I wasn't no shade to skiers. I wasn't cool enough to snowboard. I just couldn't figure out snowboarding. So I always stuck to skis. So at least I was familiar with the general mechanics of it. But yeah, I was there to call that. And from my understanding, a lot of the voices who've called ski cross have not competed in that sport. It is very specialized. You have to be really, really good, not only at skiing, but at all of the different forms of it, from the slalom to the jumps and all of that. So it's really impressive stuff.
So my mad respect for you right there, because I was told once that if you can skate, you can ski. And I am a testament that when I walked down with my skis over my shoulder on the Mission Ridge Bunny Hill and the instructor said, "You can skate, right?" There you go. Just saying.
Oh, goodness.
So did you get a chance to experience and take in any of the other events, or were you just in your own little cocoon focused on what you needed to do?
I did get a chance to. The way it's set up there's plenty of screens all around, and even in the areas where we can take breaks, where we should take breaks and actually not be maybe absorbing everything. But it's hard when you want to watch certain events. So there was lots of speed skating on around the same time. So whenever we had a break in between, I'd be watching some speed skating. I was in the building when some of those calls were happening. Canada was getting medals. That's really exciting. So yeah, I did try to keep an eye on it, but it is one of those things. I probably watch more Olympics when I'm not working in it, just by the nature of just having it on the TV while you're puttering around the house. But of course, I made time to watch gold medal games, Sunday included, like the rest of the nation. So there were certainly events that I'm like, I can't miss this. I feel like I would have watched more figure skating if I could, because I do love the figure skating events, but they overlapped a lot of those mornings.
No doubt. Let's go to the Prairie Land Rentals text line. Folks are sending you messages. So Blake says, I thought that call was amazing. So obviously referencing the video that you put up on social media. I found out that sometimes Daniella is just like me as a broadcaster on a call sometimes. So that's pretty cool from Blake to hear that.
It's the hands. I think he's referring to you got to get into it. Yeah. I don't think I could call just standing like this. I don't think that that's possible. I don't know. How about you, Dave, when you're in the booth with the Rider games? I mean, those moments are so epic. They're so big. How do you handle yourself?
I don't think anybody wants to see that, but I will tell you that the guy that stands to my right all the time has bruised my ribs and knocked my headset off my head before. Just throwing that out there.
I like that. So no names, no. Luke, but that's what it's about. You got to get into it.
Absolutely. Well, and Brad says, what about 2028? Could we see you at the Summer Olympics? And that's from the Prairie Land Rentals text line.
Well, I'd certainly love that. I was able to call Paris 2024. I did the 3x3 basketball tournament, especially because the Canadian women had high hopes of medaling in that. They made it all the way to the bronze medal game and fell just short. But yes, that would be my goal, is to be there. And it could be the same sport. It could be something else. But we have 2 years to figure that out, which is pretty exciting. But I would absolutely love to. And I think that's my goal. It would be to continue. And then because it's in North America, who knows what that means for travel for us and things like that. You know, it will be interesting to see how the setup is for games it's a lot closer to home than some of the others.
A month at Disneyland. What could go wrong?
Yes. Exactly.
Okay, before I get you out, Daniella Ponticelli, first of all, terrific job. Thank you for doing this. The question that is being asked of the NHL men that are returning from the Olympic Games is, how do you maintain that high and level of performance that you had with so much intensity at the Olympics into your regular season? Same question with the Professional Women's Hockey League. How are they going to go ahead and maintain that level as they go ahead and go through the stretch run of the season now?
The only thing that I can sort of look at as some sort of evidence to think that the aftermath will actually be better than what we saw heading in is the fact that the women, the way the schedule was the last 2 seasons, they would have to have a break for World Championship. Again, a World Championship, not quite the level of the Olympics, but still the same crossover of athletes. And so they would go spend the month of April, competing in the World Championship, which I believe is the same number of games, or it might be a couple more. But the point is that they would have that. And then when they came back, so many of those athletes continued or had a big bump in their point production post-World Championship. I look at the likes of the USA's Kelly Panic, a player who last year barely scored. I think she may have had 2 goals heading into the World Championship. She scores 4 goals there for the United States, comes back, goes on a tear, helps her team win the championship. So we have actually seen that the bump has happened and the boost has happened for those players in some capacities. My biggest concern, of course, is how Poulin's injury, how bad it is. Yeah. Obviously, the Montreal Victoire will be looking at that and making sure she's all right. But knock on wood, it seemed like so many of the on the female side, especially, it seemed like the athletes in the PWHL were healthy throughout the tournament. So that's really great news for the league because we get started Thursday. We're back in action Thursday, and I've got a call on Saturday. So it's really quickly heading right back to it.
Well, Daniella Ponticelli, fantastic job at the Olympics. Congratulations on an extremely, extremely exhilarating effort that we got to watch and be front row seats for here right across the nation. I promise next time you're on, Tegan will be here, but don't worry. I've already gone ahead and ordered chicken noodle soup for her with Skip the Dishes in your credit card, so thank you.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Dave.
Daniella Ponticelli, fresh off her Olympic experience, of course, broadcasting to the nation in both ski cross and the women's hockey competition. Boy, I tell you, what a great person, and we're very lucky that she joined us here on this Monday afternoon on the Sports Cage. Lots of your comments coming in on McDavid and as to whether or not he should now be labeled as the guy that can't get it done in the big game. We'll get to those thoughts. We've also got to get to your sports ticker in just a moment as well. Of course, Daniella, Ponticelli, and all of our guests joining us on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. This is the Monday edition of the Sports Cage for sasktoday.ca. More coming up in a moment. This is the Sports Cage, streaming on X, YouTube, and sportscage.com, and we're on your radio at 620 CKRM. All right, a couple of big games on the ice tonight in the Prairie Junior Hockey League and Saskatchewan Under-18 AAA Boys Loop. Let's get to the PJHL. Moosomin is home to Pilot Butte tonight. That game is at 8:15. It's game 2 of the best-of-3 Survivor Series. Pilot Butte leading the set 1-0. Meantime, the Prince Albert Mintos are in Tisdale taking on the Trojans. Now, here's the situation. The Saskatoon Contacts hold the final playoff spot by 2 points. If Tisdale wins tonight, they would be tied with the Contacts in points, which would trigger a cascade of tiebreaker formulas. So the Mintos don't have a lot to play for in this game. Tisdale has everything to play for. That game goes at 8 o'clock tonight. Grapefruit League baseball action today. The New York Mets down the Toronto Blue Jays 4-3, despite the Jays putting runners on the corners with nobody out in the 9th inning. Just couldn't get the run in. NBA tonight, 3 games, including in Detroit, where the Eastern Conference leading Pistons, winners of 4 in a row, will host the San Antonio Spurs. And that is your sports ticker for Reliance Heath and their group of companies. And Colson, we were talking about memorable moments and getting excited in the booth.
Yeah, and then I was looking through my library here, and I was like, oh, what did we find here? So if any of you missed where Luke elbowed Dave, here is the call.
Houda and Mario Alford back to return. This one will be taken by Alford right in the middle of the field at his 10. Up to the 20, 25, 30. Has a seam to the 40, 50. Game over! Let's go! Alford down the sideline. Let's go! Be caught. Two flags. Mario Alford. Touchdown! Riders!
Did your ribs hurt?
They were sore.
Just hearing that moment right now, did your ribs just throb and go, oh?
There was no PTSD.
Okay.
There was only joy, actually. So I think I've gotten over that.
There we go. That's good to hear.
But that booth in Toronto is so small. And Luke and I are both pretty big. Let's just put it that way.
You think they renoed it for the World Cup coming up here?
No.
Rats.
No, I.
What's the point then? Why host the World Cup if you're not going to make the booth bigger?
The budget for renovations is adding seats in the end zone.
Yes, which is we saw the balls go through the uprights and end up in the end zone. Yeah.
When teams were told to bring extra balls because you couldn't get them during the game, only one person was going at the end of the game to get and retrieve all the footballs back.
Yeah, looking at the video, that's actually the end zone Alford ran into.
Yeah.
Just perspective. Anyways.
Yeah. So that's where I understand. Unlike BC Place, which is undergoing a complete transformation for their media areas, which I know that people are probably rolling their eyes saying, oh yeah, media, right? But just, again, BC is really renovating the heck out of that stadium. And they've done so, right? Because it was built in the 80s. And you got to give credit for its longevity. You got the big upgrade for the Olympic Games where they somehow convinced somebody that, hey, we should get a retractable roof put on this thing for the Winter Olympics, right? Which is no small feat, I'm telling you. So, again, the World Cup is going to be so interesting. Like, did you hear last week the Edmonton Elks? By the way, we are going to be speaking with Morley Scott, the voice of the Edmonton Elks, coming up just after 4 o'clock. They're moving a preseason game to Clark Stadium, which is the small field to the west of Commonwealth. It's where they used to play junior football, for example. The Edmonton Huskies and Wildcats would play out of that facility. The U of A plays on their campus, just in case anyone is wondering why I didn't say that. But they've now since used that facility predominantly for soccer and their professional soccer team that they have in Edmonton. So now, because Team Canada is going to be playing a friendly at Commonwealth Stadium during the preseason for the CFL, they're going to be bringing in grass for this thing. So, of course, you don't want the football players on the grass. So the football and the preseason game is going to be next door at Clark Stadium, which is a good stadium, but it is much, much, much smaller. Like, it is probably on par with Leibel Field. Maybe a little bigger. I could be wrong, but it isn't much bigger than Leibel. It'll be an intimate atmosphere for a preseason game.
In its original conditions, it was approximately 20,000 capacity.
Yeah, and they've torn a ton of that down.
Okay.
Because that would have been for the old Commonwealth Empire games that it was around as well.
Yeah. Yeah, now it's a 5,000 and change capacity.
So that would be much bigger than Libel. I apologize.
Yeah.
But still, when you're going from a 72,000 Commonwealth Stadium, 72,000 to a 5,000, it's a little different.
Is Commonwealth 72?
It's up there. Maybe it's not 72. They probably took out a ton of seats.
I've always heard it was 60. So,
I rounded up. It's the new math.
2012 to present is 56,302. Wow.
I really rounded up with the really new math.
The record attendance was the U2 concert.
Yes.
66,835.
Wow.
There we go.
There you know. Now you know.
The more you know.
Yeah, that's true. I was going to go the rest of the story, but you probably don't know Paul Harvey either.
Nope. Things
that Colson doesn't know. Continues after 4 o'clock. Morley Scott will join us. Of course, more of your messages. Is Connor McDavid the new can't get it done in professional sports athlete? We will weigh that in. Coming up with Mr. Scott and much more coming up here on the Sports Cage. We are streaming on YouTube, X, and at sportscage.com and on your radios where we celebrate 100 years of great community dedication. 620 CKRM. It's the Monday edition of The Cage. Dave Thomas in for Tegan Whitco. A little under the weather today. She's going to be feeling better thanks to that chicken noodle soup from Daniella Ponticelli, I'm sure. Don't worry about it. It'll be okay. There's a solid move on her part. She didn't even know it was a solid move until we told her about it. So that's how we roll on the Sports Cage. Barney will be back tomorrow, so don't fear. Morley Scott is coming on the radio in just about 10 minutes or so from now. We'll talk to him about everything that was the Olympic Games, what's happening with the Edmonton Elks in the offseason, and more. That is coming up, as well as Darian Durant joining us after 5, and Pat's chat with a Regina Pats player that celebrated a significant milestone in his junior hockey career over the weekend. We will talk about that and much more coming up. Boy, we've got the Clutch Performer also on the way at 4:30 for Kelton Solar on this Monday edition of the Sports Cage for sasktoday.ca. But boy, did I really throw up a muffin just before we got to 4 o'clock. We were talking about, first of all, I don't know which mistake should I correct first. We talked about Commonwealth Stadium, very clearly not at 72,000.
Yeah, never has been.
No, not even standing room. So we got that sorted out, right? And again, called out rightly by Jeffrey and others on the YouTube chat. And of course, our Prairieland Rentals text line at 306-936-6262. I erroneously also said that they put the retractable roof up on the BC Place Stadium for the Winter Olympics, but indeed it was after.
Yeah, because as you said that, I was trying to remember, and then I was like, well, wait a minute. Because they lit up the cauldron in BC Place.
Yeah.
And then they sent Gretzky outside to go light the one up outside. And he had to wait in the door for what felt like a half hour.
Yeah.
For the pressure to equalize or whatever. Before he could go out and light it. And the camera was just there on him through the window panes, through the door. And I was just like, what is this?
Yeah.
So I remember that.
So if you had never been to BC Place prior to the renovation of the roof, you did have to go through pressurized doors, right? Because they had to keep the air pressure in to keep the roof up.
Mm-hmm. And that was the thing in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, pressurized domes.
And could you imagine the work and testing, maybe is the right word, that had to go through? Because you don't want that Olympic flame to be extinguished while he's standing in there, because there's a wind tunnel. Like it's windy standing between those doors.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? But then again, also, if you recall, right, during that Olympic ceremony, remember an arm was supposed to go up and it didn't?
Yeah, there were supposed to be 4 arms and only 3 rows.
Only 3 rows, yeah.
And then for the closing ceremony, we fixed it with a clown.
Yeah.
Because we're just going to have fun with ourselves. That's what Canadians do, right? Make fun of ourselves.
Apparently. I did quite enjoy watching the closing ceremonies. I remember that. I mean, again, I was 12 years old, 13 years old. That hurts.
Hey.
Let me throw this out, though. BC. So then I did some research, right? So, a lot of people would do that prior to before broadcasting. You do your research, but
we do things different here.
That's right. So BC Place. So the renovation that wasn't just the roof.
Yeah.
They had to renovate a ton of things inside the building to get the roof to become retractable, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
That renovation, which was the second of three major ones that the stadium has gone under since it was built, that renovation cost $500 million, $562 million. Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. It's the cost of doing stuff. Colson, you're a young man and you have a brilliant wife, but I'm going to give you some marital advice here.
That's perfect, because tomorrow's 2 years for us. So,
is your anniversary tomorrow?
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, and I'm saying it today on recording, so I can say that I've remembered in case I do end up forgetting tomorrow. I don't think I will,
played.
But
well played. Piece of marital advice for you. Never, ever, if you decide to renovate your home,
sure,
never decide to renovate the bathroom first. Because what happens is then you look inside the bathroom from outside in the hall or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And then you look to your left and your right and you're like, uh-oh, we got to renovate everywhere else now. And it never ends.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that's maybe where the $560-some million price tag came for BC
Because they
Place.
started with the bathrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in this economy, we live in a rental, so I don't have to worry about that right now. But
it's coming. It will come, my friend. And by the way, so now costs of renovations or things can incrementally increase right on the go. Like look at a civic project, right?
Yeah.
And maybe you're building an overpass. It starts at this level, right around the eyes, and then it goes right up over your head, right? By the time it's all said and done, because this, and this needed to be done. So if you go back to when BC Place was originally built and opened, do you want to guess what the price tag was to build that facility in downtown Vancouver? And we're not talking about land. The land was very, very, very valuable at the time. Or it still is.
yeah.
But just to build it. So the renovation was $560.
Just to build it, it was probably, I mean, when was it built? 2006? Ish?
No. It was built in the 80s.
Oh, right.
88-ish. 86?
86? Could it have hit $1 billion back then?
It was 83. Sorry, I lied. 83. 1983. See, again, do your research before you go on the radio.
1983. I wouldn't be surprised if it hit $1 billion, but I'm going to say $700 million.
You're way off.
Dang.
The original price to build that stadium, $126 million.
Really?
Yeah. So
in 83?
Yeah, in 1983, $126.1 million for the original build.
Did they use Quickset? Like
they didn't use duct tape. I'm just saying. All right, so let's get back and talk some sports. Again, Canada talking about the 2-1 loss to the United States in overtime in the Olympic men's hockey tournament. Again, the overtime loss was devastating for a nation. The Canadians had led all the way through. It's asking and or leaving many questions to be answered. Number one, did the right team win? If you go to sportscage.com, you can vote on that poll question. So far, over 60% of the voters say yes, the right team did win because Canada couldn't come up clutch and score the goal when they needed. Fair enough. The other question, what about 3-on-3 overtime? Do we want 3-on-3 or do we not? I didn't think it was bad. Why? Because to counteract the arguments that that it's not real hockey with 3-on-3, well, it's just a different style, right? It's not a shootout, it's 3-on-3, so you're involving more of the bench. And if you watch an NHL playoff game, can you really say that 5-on-5 overtime in the playoffs is the same game as 5-on-5 in the regulation time of said playoff game or even regular season? From a 771 on the Prairie Land Rentals text line, please just know if we'd won that 3-on-3 overtime, we'd all be okay with the format. Remember what our thoughts about the shootout were in 1998. We'd think differently about that if we'd won this one as well. Bottom line, we knew the format going in. If we didn't like it, we should have sealed the deal in regulation. And that's Kevin in White City. And I could not agree with you more that, again, complaining about the format after the fact isn't right. But there's a lot of analysts that are on social media. Oh, I said before going in that the 3-on-3 wasn't good. Again, to me, I think it was okay. The other question that comes out of this, of course, is Connor McDavid. And is he the guy that can't get the win in the big game? Now, Daryl points out, you guys know who scored the winning goal in the Four Nations Cup. Of course, it was Connor McDavid, right? If anyone was starting a new NHL team, who would be the first player picked? Connor McDavid. Don't know who starts this crap, but they must have too much time on their hands from Daryl.
My rebuttal to that is maybe Macklin Celebrini. Just because youth. And we saw how good he is. And, like, he is going to be the future of Canadian hockey. We all know that now, right? After watching what he did at this tournament.
Yes, okay.
So that's where I'm like, yes, if you're going for right now, Connor McDavid. If you're thinking at least 5 years into the future and longer, probably Macklin Celebrini.
I understand the and longer now. Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
When you said 5 years, I don't think we're waiting 5 years for Macklin Celebrini.
No.
But I understand what you mean.
Yeah, if you're just thinking, like, if you're trying to build a dynasty,
Yeah.
which hard to do in sports in any league.
And very true.
But if you're just thinking, I want to make us competitive for this window, if you're thinking win this year, maybe next year, Connor McDavid. If you're thinking sustained success, longevity, Macklin Celebrini. That's my take.
But do you think that Connor McDavid is going to hear that narrative, though? Again, not according to Daryl, and I'm not disputing you, Daryl. You make a fantastic point.
No, and I don't think McDavid is going to hear that narrative because McDavid is still, like, in his prime. He is still the best player.
So at the start of the year, he signed a 2-year contract extension, correct? That takes him through this year, next year, and the year after.
Signed it last year, but yeah.
So they've got this. The window is right now for the Edmonton Oilers. This year, next year, the year after.
Yeah.
And again, we will get to our Sports Select sprinkle of the day, but if you had to look into your crystal ball that you've used to proclaim Macklin Celebrini the best or the future of Canadian hockey.
The future face, yeah.
Would you suggest that within the next 3 years, Connor McDavid wins a Stanley Cup?
I can't suggest that anyone's going to win a Stanley Cup.
True.
Like, that's such a hard prediction to make. Like, again, people who were watching well before my time, people who were watching Mario.
Why are you looking at me saying that?
I'm looking at you because we're across from each other.
Okay, fair enough.
That's good TV there, right?
Yeah, I thought you were meaning I was old.
No, but people who watched Mario Lemieux were like, wow, he is phenomenal. And then he starts getting all his injuries, and it's like, would he have caught Gretzky? You watched the pace, you're like, he had a real shot of doing it. But injuries caught up with him, right? And that's the thing, is like, we don't know. Literally, like, will we see Sidney Crosby in the 2030 Winter Olympics? That's another question, right? If he suffers some kind of devastating injury here that they just haven't told us yet, or if he suffers another one in a year or two, I think the answer is pretty easily no, because he'll be, how old will he be then? I don't know.
40.
40? Okay. Playing hockey at 40 is probably...
It's like a senior citizen in your world, isn't it?
I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
But playing hockey at 40, even for someone who is as revered and skillful as Crosby, might be a bit of a stretch. Now, if he continues at the pace he's at, stays injury-free for the most part, why not? Especially with the sour taste after this Olympics where he didn't even get to compete in the gold medal game and watched his teammates get silver.
True.
Like, if that leaves a bitter enough taste in his mouth, he might push for it, right?
Well, they said that Drew Doughty was old, and Doughty's 38.
Fair.
But you're right. Never say never with Sidney Crosby, and the leadership that he may bring, right, is one of those things that you can't rate. The one thing that... So we haven't heard an update yet on Sidney Crosby and his injury from the Pittsburgh Penguins. What we have heard, if you are following, is Josh Morrissey from the Winnipeg Jets. It sounds like it's going to be a while for him to be out. And I like how Canada was coy. Well, he might play in the quarterfinal. Oh, yeah, he's probably definitely going to go in the semifinal the day before. No, he's not going to the gold medal game. So the Winnipeg Jets obviously are going to get a look at him and their physicians, but it does sound like it is going to be a longer-term injury for Josh Morrissey, which is tough. Also, Kevin Fiala is done for the year. If you missed that, of course, he was injured in the first game that Canada played Czechia. And then, of course, the LA Kings forward went back to North America where he ruptured his pelvis, which doesn't sound comfortable.
No, it didn't look comfortable. It wasn't a hit. It was a accidental fall, whatever you want to call it, from Tom Wilson, but... yeah, it didn't look comfortable.
Are we wrong? Again, the women's hockey team, boy, did they battle the U.S. hard. And that was also a 3-on-3 overtime win for the U.S., right?
Yep. Two very iconic photos circulating the internet of how close Canada was and then what ended up happening.
Yeah.
in both games.
And that's, again, heartbreaking for the athletes. I don't think that we need to hold a summit for hockey to find out what's wrong. It was just, it's a one-game play down. That's all it is, right? I think. But not a lot of us have been talking about the women's hockey, me included. And end of the day, of course, the 2 silver medals in hockey add up to 21 that we got overall in the games. 5 gold. We collected 13 in the second half, including Brad Jacobs in the gold medal. Congratulations, of course, to Ben Hebert, who wins a gold, the former Regina Thunder football player.
Yeah, and Rachel Holman got her first Olympic medal, too. It is a bronze, and they wanted gold, but they had to battle back just to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, they dug a hole, and they were in must-win.
And they
every
won
single
all of
game,
them pretty much.
Yeah.
So, again, at a certain point, when you're winning off all these must-win games, you're like, okay, when's the shoe going to drop? Because you can't keep winning them all. Sometimes you do, and you end up in a miraculous situation. But still, you're kind of they fought for that bronze medal, and it's her first. So,
and when the pressure dial is turned up to 10, that's a lot of time. Just saying. We did ask at sportscage.com, by the way. So the 21 medals are good. I should mention that we finished 8th overall, and it's the first time since 1994 our country places outside the top 5 of the Winter Olympics. And at sportscage.com, we asked if you thought that more funding should go to Canadian Olympic athletes to better our performance when it comes to podium finishes. And in the current climate, nobody wants to see their taxes increase. But maybe it's because we weren't thinking our taxes would have to go up. Maybe it would just be a redistribution of tax money.
They're already being redistributed, I think, but that's besides the point.
I'm not concerned. The budget's going to balance itself. So all I'm saying is that 81% of voters at sportscage.com believe that, yes, indeed, we should commit more money to our Olympic athletes. So we all want to see better podium finishes. We'll see how that transpires in 2028. Also news today, Saskatchewan Roughriders announced if you want to tailgate at the game, you can. Season ticket holders are going to have an opportunity to enter a lottery for a tailgate spot at Real District. What it comes with is 2 parking spots, one for you to set up your barbecue, whatever else you want to do. The other one is to park your vehicle. It's $50 a game, $500 for the season. So if you're a season ticket holder, you can get entered in the draw. If you're not a season ticket holder and you still want to get in the draw, you still can get a season ticket to get in the draw. I think that made sense. Luke Mullender has already texted that he's gone ahead and, he's taking one for the team here, Colson. He's going to volunteer. He's going to volunteer to be our roving reporter at the tailgate site during the pregame show. Yep. Volunteering. That's the selfless act when it comes to the Rider Broadcast Network. So Luke is going to volunteer to analyze, right? As our lead analyst, he will analyze the tailgate site. Thanks, Luke. Awful nice of you. But he'd bring back food. That's the best part of Luke right there, is he would bring me food.
Just make sure you send him down with a cooler or something.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Also, the Riders add former Auburn Tigers punter Oscar Chapman. He'll be in Saskatoon for training camp. As again, it looks like it's just going to be a wide open compete for punting and kicking for the Saskatchewan Roughriders when it comes to training camp up in Saskatoon in May. Some big games tonight in the Prairie Junior Hockey League and under 18 AAA leagues as they are getting set to go. The Brier is coming up on the weekend in St. John's, Newfoundland, Labrador. So we'll analyze that, and a big win for the Saskatchewan Rush as well to talk about today on this Monday here on the Sports Cage. But we have talked long enough. He is getting set to come in, and we are going to talk to him next. He is Morley Scott, the voice of the Edmonton Elks on 880 CHED Radio in Edmonton. We're going to talk Olympics, talk Oilers, talk Edmonton Elks football, and more. It's all coming up right here on the Sports Cage. We are streaming on X, YouTube, of course, sportscage.com, and you can listen to us live anywhere in Western Canada via our stream at 620ckrm.com or on the radio at 620 CKRM.
All right, welcome back to the Sports Cage. Time to head out on our Western Pizza guest hotline. Of course, the perfect pie every time. Go with the number 2. Tell them I sent you. Boy, that rhymed a lot. I should do this more often. It is the Western Pizza Guest Hotline, and we're pleased to be joined by the voice of the Edmonton Elks on 880 CHED Radio in Edmonton, Mr. Morley Scott. Good afternoon, sir.
Hey, Dave, what's the number 2? You got me hungry now.
Pepperoni, bacon, and mushroom.
Can't go wrong, man. You can throw on some green peppers or something, right? But yeah, that's good.
I'm generally against any type of vegetable anywhere, especially on pizza.
Attaboy. Western Pizza, though, that honestly, that might be one of the best pizzas on the tour.
I appreciate that. I do. Yeah. And, they were smoking busy on Sunday, even though they didn't get opened in time for that early start for the hockey game. But the question I'm getting all over the place is, have you recovered? So have you recovered, sir?
Yeah, I have. I think as far as everybody's mindset goes, it was pretty good that it was a morning game and it was on early, 6 o'clock here, I guess 7 o'clock there, right? So the game ended around between 9 and 10, and I think you had the rest of the day to try and get your emotions in check, and it wasn't too bad today as we started the new work week.
So you look
what a
back,
game, though, eh? Like it was.
No, go ahead.
Game to watch. Not a lot of goals, but man, it was so entertaining.
So looking back at the game, did the right team win?
Well, not the team I was cheering for, or not the team I thought played the best, but the right team got the game-winning goal, right? So they automatically win. If you get the goals, you win the game, right? I'm obviously cheering for Canada, and I think they played probably their best game of the tournament, and just could not get anything by Connor Hellebuyck. If you would have told me going into the tournament that Connor would be the MVP of the gold medal game, I would have taken that. But wrong Connor, right?
Absolutely. So, are you one of the people now that are saying, "Oh, 3-on-3 format should never ever happen in an Olympics game"?
Well, I said that before a 3-on-3 ever happened. It didn't really click into me until the first overtime game, and I thought, oh, I forgot it's 3-on-3 now, not 4-on-4 like it was, in previous years. And it's not right. It's like deciding a football game, throwing footballs through a tire, right? It's not the real game. But it is what it is, and everybody knew the rules going into it. So it's a shame though that they have to decide it that way. Maybe they'll take a look at it and see. But that game, if they played 5-on-5, that game might still be going.
Very true. I read an interesting article that suggested the fact that, okay, maybe the 3-on-3 overtime is a bit of a gimmick. But at the end of the day, when you get into overtime and you have the 4 and 5 and 6 period overtime games seemingly in the National Hockey League, it becomes a gimmick as well, as the officials don't call anything, and it really doesn't resemble anything that's been played in the NHL in the regular season or even prior to that, because nobody wants to make the mistake. Is that a fair assessment in your mind?
Yeah, I think a little bit. I heard somebody, I can't remember who it was, I heard somebody say that in 5-on-5 overtime, you play not to lose, and in 3-on-3 overtime, you play to win, because you're going to get your chances, right? And you got to take advantage of when they come. I mean, like McDavid had that opportunity, and the puck comes back the other way, and if Makar is able to get the puck and chip it in on the pinch, then all of a sudden it's McDavid with the puck, maybe in alone. The other way, it goes back and the U.S. gets an opportunity, basically a 3-on-1 against McKinnon. And if McKinnon gets to that puck first and chips it off the boards, it's McDavid and Makar 2-on-1 or 2-on-0 the other way. So the chances come quicker in 3-on-3 overtime. That's for sure. I was about to ask the question. 5 minutes over under for this period, but I couldn't even get the question out because they scored a minute and a half in, and it's just the chances come, and all those players are just too good 3-on-3 not to score quickly. So I think that assessment that you talked about was pretty correct.
Morley Scott is the voice of the Edmonton Elks, and I believe you me, we are going to talk some football in just a bit. But before we put a bow, if you will, on the conversation around Canada's men's hockey team at the Olympics, going into Four Nations, Jordan Binnington was the guy that had all the question marks on him, and then he does it. Connor Hellebuyck has all the question marks on him, and then he does it in the Olympic Games. Does Connor McDavid have question marks surrounding him in the big game when it comes to 2 Stanley Cup final losses and a loss in the gold medal game at the Olympics, or am I making too much of this?
I don't think so. I don't think not yet. Anyway, I mean, he did score the game-winning goal in the Four Nations and answer a few questions. I think. I don't think so, because his game is always there, and I mean, even at the gold medal or at the Olympics, he set a record for points. Like, he did his job, right? He didn't get any points, I know, yesterday in the gold medal game, but I mean, I think he did his job through the tournament, and I think for the most part, I mean, his team didn't win the Stanley Cup, but he won the Conn Smythe one year, right? So I don't think it's fair to put that tag on him. If things keep going the way they are, maybe you start to think about it. But But right now, he's the best player on the planet, and it doesn't matter who you are. If you tell me you don't want Connor McDavid to build your team around, you're lying.
Well, no rest for him and the rest of the crew. Your take on the Edmonton Oilers being in the capital of Alberta. What's the outlook? What's the feeling around the team as they return from their Olympic break later this week?
I think it's going to be a little tense going into these games. I mean, they start on the West Coast with games in Anaheim, LA, and San Jose. And the Oilers are in second place in their division. I think they're 4 points back of first place, which is very doable for them. So that's in the mix. But they're also in a position, and I believe if every team that has games in hand on them wins their games in hand on them, the Oilers will drop below the playoff cut line. So they're not home and cool by any means. They've got some work to do, and I think everybody knows they got to flip the switch a little bit for the final 24 games.
All right, let's talk some football. Edmonton Elks. I tell you, you may not be able to win the Grey Cup in the offseason, but maybe you could lose it, some would stand to reason. Your assessment on what the Edmonton Elks have done this offseason thus far?
Well, they didn't lose the Grey Cup, that's for sure. I think they made themselves a better team. They obviously didn't win it because you can't, as you say, you can't win it in the offseason. But I think they've had a good offseason. They had a pretty good free agency. They went after the areas that they thought they needed improvement in, and that is they needed an edge rusher, and they got Malik Carney. They needed to fix their offensive line, and they went out and they got those three guys from Hamilton with Manzi, Murray, and Bordner. That fixes the O-line and gives great competition for training camp on the O-line with guys like O'Donnell and Beard and Cordy when they open up training camp. They needed to solve the quarterbacking issue. They released Trey Ford because of everything that had gone wrong and the pending bonus that was due, but they re-signed Cody Fajardo. They got Taylor Powell, who will be the backup this year and the future, they believe, of the Edmonton Elks at quarterback. And they also reshuffled the deck at receiver by getting Austin Mack before free agency opened up, and then Joe Robustelli and Brendan O'Leary Orange as well. So I think they're in pretty good shape. I think they got done what they needed to get done. The one thing, Dave, that Ed Hervey has done through this offseason that's kind of gone under the radar is re-sign his guys and keep the core group of players intact. He's done a great job of signing guys to extensions who already have a year left in their deal. He's gone up and he's signed them for an extra year. So guys like Tyrell Ford and J.J. Ross and Jalen Garnes, they've all signed, Vincent Blanchard too, their field goal kicker, they've all signed for next year. They were signed for 2026. Now they're signed through 2027. So Ed Hervey's done what he started doing last year, and that's get the core group of players together that are going to be the guys who make or break this team over the next 2 or 3 seasons.
We saw in Saskatchewan this season the advantage of continuity. Mark Killam is in his second year as a head coach and his second year with the Edmonton Elks organization. How much does that stability allow him to grow upon the foundation that he built last year?
When 2025 ended this past year, it was the first time in probably 4 or 5 years that we went into the offseason not wondering if the GM would be back, if the coach would be back, if the president would be back, because we all knew everything was going to stay stable at the top, and that had a trickle-down effect. And as I mentioned, Ed Hervey's re-signing guys to stay who already have years left in their contract. He put some guys in place last year in free agency. Probably didn't work out the way they wanted to, especially on the D-line, but he went and supplemented that in this year's free agency, and I think that's what the Elks are doing more so than anything, is getting some stability within the organization right from the top, because it has not been there probably since pre-COVID.
Morley Scott is the play-by-play voice of the Edmonton Elks on 880 CHED. And Morley, what is the feeling in the community regarding the Edmonton Elks? Having family that lives in that area, they talk about the initiatives and the lengths that the Elks are going to involve the community in different programs. How do you see it? How do you feel?
I think it's turning. I think they're starting to rebuild that bridge between the organization and the fan base. A week ago, this past Wednesday, so almost 2 weeks ago, they had after free agency, they had an event for some season seat holders at a local restaurant downtown, and they had most of the players that they signed in free agency were there. So they brought back Fajardo, and Justin Rankin was there, and they had brought a bunch of season seat holders in. And I was emceeing it, and the thing that hit me most about it was the smiles, how everybody was happy. Everybody seemed excited about the new season and seemed to be in a good place when you're talking about the Double E. Then what really hit me was the next day, and they posted some stuff on social media. And if you follow the Elks on social media, especially on Facebook, every time they post something, you get 2 or 3 guys going, "Oh, you spelled Eskimos wrong. I'm not coming back till you change the name." On and on and on. And there's people who just keep hounding on the name change. All we saw in the comment section after that event was people saying what a great night it was, how fun it was to talk football with all the players. The new players are great. It just seemed that, to me, all of a sudden I'm thinking, wow, maybe we have turned a corner here and the fans are starting to hop on board, because the fans have been beat up pretty bad here in the last 5 or 6 years, right? Haven't made the playoffs since 2019. We've had that long, horrible losing streak at home. They haven't had, winning seasons for a while. I think things are turning around very slowly. I've kind of been bit the last couple of years. I thought they were going to be better than they were, but they're slowly chipping away, and I believe that obviously it's going to be, I think, next year the best team they've had here since they made the playoffs in 2019.
It's funny you talk about the external noise, and we hear that outside of Edmonton as well, but one of the factors that I felt in that maybe even became a bit of a distraction was quarterback Trey Ford. And I'll go on record saying I'm cheering on every athlete to make the most of their opportunities, and the same held true for Trey Ford. Do you feel he got a fair shake in Edmonton, and is this parting of the ways between the Elks and Trey maybe the best for him moving forward?
I think it's the best for everybody involved. I think he got a fair shake. I mean, he started the first 5 games of last year, right? Mm-hmm. And he was 1-4. He had his chance to start at the end of the last couple of seasons, and he didn't do poorly, but he did well enough to keep that hope alive. But it just wasn't working. I mean, Trey Ford first off, I like him, and I hope he has all sorts of success in Hamilton, and I hope he gets to play a long and healthy CFL career. But for whatever reason, it just wasn't working here, and I think that Chris Jones drafted him with the idea to try and make him something that he wasn't. Maybe get him to play receiver or just be a gimmick guy. And Trey wants to be a quarterback, and he's made no bones about that. He skipped an opportunity his rookie year in Edmonton. He skipped an opportunity to go to an NFL rookie camp, to come to rookie camp in Edmonton, because the Elks are going to play him at quarterback, and the NFL team wanted him to line up as a receiver. And he said, "No, I'm a quarterback. I'm going there because they're going to give me a chance to be a quarterback." So I like that part of it, and I think he's going to be good. But for whatever reason, it just wasn't working here. He made plays. He made great plays, and they brought us all out of our seats, got me yelling in the broadcast booth, and brought the fans out of their seats. But a lot of those plays came in double-digit losses, or 3 touchdown losses, and it wasn't consistent enough and didn't turn enough. So the thing that I think went against Ford last year, in the 5 games he got to play, the defense wasn't very good. The defense got much better later in the year. Then when Cody Fajardo became the starter, he didn't have to score 25 points a game to win, because the defense was playing much better. And I think that's kind of where Trey didn't get the fair shake last year. But it's done now. It is what it is. He is gone. The Elks have moved on. He's moved on, and I'm sure he'll be happy playing pretty much in his hometown, and I wish him all sorts of luck. But the Elks are pretty happy with what Cody Fajardo did last year, and moving forward with him for at least one more season as their quarterback.
Any surprises in CFL free agency or the offseason thus far?
I don't think so. It's the way things leak out now during the communication week. It's pretty hard to surprise anybody, right? But I think it pretty much went as you would have thought. Calgary lost a lot of people to the NFL. I think the Riders lost a few guys through free agency. It's the same as it is every year, right? Some teams load up and some teams lose guys and try and repair any kind of damage within. So we'll see what happens when May rolls around. But yeah, not really that surprised just off the top of my head.
All right, last thing before I let you go, Morley Scott, is the CFL Combine. Regina was privileged enough to hold the event last year, and it was pretty eye-opening just to watch and see and understand what the athletes were going through. And again, the scrutiny that they were under with so many different eyes. Edmonton is hosting that event this year. What's open to fans? What can you tell us about anything that is going on in and around Edmonton? It sounds like there's a lot of things planned over that 3-4 day span in March.
Yeah, it's going to be the usual combine stuff, and I'm not sure. I think they're going to move a few things around so they have more seating room for fans, because holding it at the field house, which is a great facility, but it's not fan friendly. And the big gym, they did a lot of stuff when it was here 3 or 4 years ago. They did a lot of stuff in the gym in the basement at Commonwealth as well. So that's not fan friendly. And I think they're going to try and make it a little bit more fan friendly moving forward. They also have added the Coach of the Year celebration, right? The Coach of the Year dinner, which will have Corey Mason, Jason Moss up for Coach of the Year, and the Executive of the Year, and the Football Personnel of the Year, and all that other stuff that's going on. So that's going to be a nice part of it too. I think that goes on the Wednesday, and then the combine goes Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It was here, like I said, 3 or 4 years ago, and I got down and watched a lot of it. And it's pretty entertaining to watch, but it's kind of like drinking water out of a fire hose for a while, because there's just so much going on, and it's hard to keep track of all the players and all the kids who are taking part of it. But it's a big time event, and it's an important event too. So it's going to be cool to get a chance to look at it again.
Absolutely. Morley, Scott, appreciate your time. Again, thank you so much for doing this. And the countdown is on. I can't wait to see you at Commonwealth Stadium or at Mosaic Stadium, whichever comes first this season.
What is it? I think it's about 11 or 10 weeks till training camp coming up this weekend. So, yeah, it seems like a long way away, but this part of the offseason often goes very fast. So I'm looking forward to it, Dave. It's always good to talk to you.
Morley Scott is the voice of the Edmonton Elks on 880 CHED. Yes, 880 CHED in Edmonton, Alberta. Thank you so much for your time, sir, on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. This Monday edition of the Sports Cage for sasktoday.ca rolls on in a moment. We'll take a break. We're streaming on sportscage.com and, of course, always live on your radio, celebrating 100 years. 620 CKRM.
Well, a lot of clutch performers, of course, when it comes to the Winter Olympic Games. Canada winning 21 medals in total, finishes 8th overall in the medal standings. But, I'm going to go back a little closer to home with the Regina Pat Canadians. They were clutch themselves all season long. They finished first atop the under-18 AAA boys schedule and regular season stats. They will head into the playoffs later on this week. But we talk about Liam Pugh. You talk about Maddox Schultz, two outstanding young players on that team. But a guy that maybe gets overlooked a little bit had a sensational season in Malachi Martin. Plays 44 games, 37 goals, 41 assists. In the last game that he plays against the Prince Albert Raiders, he tallies a couple of goals and an assist. So another 3-point game for him. And if you look at his season, that's kind of the norm. He had as many as 4 points 3 different times this season in a game. So Malachi Martin, the clutch performer for Kellen Solar. Of course, Kellen Solar, you like that one, hey, Colson? Thank you. I appreciate that. 35 years of experience moving water from a dugout or well without electricity. Visit kellensolar.com to find out more for your livestock operation.
The applause was for Malachi, but...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was me on picking a good clutch performer. I guess I just stole his spotlight, didn't I? Way to go. You know what? We've been talking and hearing from you a lot. Let's head back to the Prairie Land Rentals text line. You heard the conversation. Again, thank you to Morley Scott from 880 CHED for joining us, talking Edmonton Oilers, talking Connor McDavid, talking about the Olympics. And we've kind of put it out there. And there is a narrative that is going around, and rightly or wrongly, when it comes to, first of all, the format for overtime. Should it be 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5? Just keep going until somebody scores. Glenn says 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5. Anything is better than a shootout. And I would definitely agree with that. The shootout is going too far. But Trevor weighs in, and this is an interesting one. Again, we're talking a little bit about whether or not Connor McDavid has got to wear the horns right now as the guy that just doesn't get it done in the big game, right? And again, Connor Hellebuck was there. That's where the Canadian goalkeeper Jordan Binnington was. Ray Bourque was there for a long time before he left Boston and went to Colorado and won a cup. Is McDavid in that category right now as elite athletes that just haven't been able to get it done when it needs to get done in crunch time? Trevor says, I don't mind 3-on-3 overtime. I would like to see 4-on-4. He says Crosby will be 42 at the next Olympics. I think McDavid will be fine. Taking too much heat. Every Canadian would take every day, probably every time, the puck on his stick. If McDavid, McKinnon, Makar, Celebrini, and if Sid is available to win a game, they would put it on their stick all the time. We would all take that. It is how it played out. Unfortunately, just didn't play out the way that we wanted. Canada badly outplayed Americans and Team Hellebuck, and Hellebuck played a game I doubt that he will ever have again. I will say if McDavid doesn't win his cup in the next 2 years, it's going to be difficult as there are way too many good young teams that in 2 years are going to be at the top of the league. San Jose, Anaheim, Chicago. Would love to say Vancouver, but unfortunately Vancouver is probably 2 or 3 years away from figuring out what they need to do to be good. So really probably 7 years away, and that's coming from a Canucks fan, Trevor here in Regina. I agree with that. Being a Canucks fan, I hear that very loudly. Leonard factors in, says, I am not okay with 3-on-3 and penalty shootout hockey overtime format. Okay. Like I said, I think 3-on-3 is better than a 5-on-5 that never ends. Just for the quality of hockey you're going to get. Granted, and like I say, you can argue, well, it's not the full team, but it's not the full team in a shootout. And in overtime, it's not the full team either. The fourth line is not playing much in overtime, if at all. If they touch the ice,
until you reach the fourth overtime period, and then they're probably getting sprinkled out there to save some legs. But
and why are you doing that, though? Because shouldn't you be going all out to win the game?
Well, it depends. Is this the fourth overtime in Game 3? Or is this the fourth overtime in Game 6? It depends.
It does depend. The Prairie Land Rentals text line open for you and your comments at 306-936-6262. Prairie Land Rentals and Sales since 1986 for big or small jobs. Stop in and deal with the owner. 600 Albert Street. Of course, they've got snowblowers, skid steers, power sources, moving equipment, and more. We were also talking about, it was pointed out, well, who won or who scored the game-winning goal at the Four Nations Cup? Connor McDavid did, right? Mm-hmm. So does that alleviate him from saying he can't get the job done in the big game? Perhaps.
Maybe.
But Ed on our chat, of course, if you're following on YouTube, you can read along, you can join in the conversation, you can like, you can subscribe, you can do all that fun stuff. Ed said the Four Nations was a fancy all-star game. Nothing really on the line.
He's not wrong in that regards, but isn't the Olympics and the World Championships kind of the same thing?
Oh.
Like,
not the word. I can't.
Like, I'm just throwing that out as a question.
Okay, I understand.
Because it's a tournament for the sake of figuring out who's the best, right? That's what the All-Star game is.
Well, I don't know. Four Nations was absolutely entertaining.
Oh, yeah.
And eye-opening. A lot of All-Star games, like some leagues are thinking of just getting rid of them. Like even the Pro Bowl in the NFL. They're talking about what's the point. It was a
flag football game in a warehouse on a Tuesday this year.
Yeah.
It's fallen far.
Well, yeah, it used to be that everybody got a free trip to Honolulu, right?
Exactly. Yeah, the NBA one this year, I don't know if you watched. It was more interesting and engaging, but that's almost simply just because of one player and not the actual format.
The one thing that should be considered, in my opinion, and again, this is my opinion, and I'm probably wrong.
Don't count yourself out yet, Dave.
No, give it time. Give it time. The World Hockey Championship.
Sure.
Some people look at the World Hockey Championship as less superior, subpar, if you will, when you're talking international hockey.
Compared to the Olympics?
Well, compared to the Olympics or in general.
Okay.
Because the best of the best aren't there. And there are NHL players that go to the World Championship, predominantly players that haven't made the playoffs with their NHL teams. Mm-hmm. But having said that, like if you ask any of the athletes competing, they would not tell you it's subpar. Like they are going and they are going for gold. And they feel every bit of the devastation that you would with the Olympics, right? And not winning there.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, and that's some of the thing. I think that's one of the things sometimes that maybe with athletics in general, and again, I could be way off my kilter. Maybe I'm off my rocker, right? But every kid, every athlete, anyone that performs at any level of sport, that is, and again, pardon the expression, that is their Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
So again, to discredit the Four Nations, I don't know if you can do that. To discredit the World Championships, I don't know that you can do that either.
Yeah.
It is a completely different ball of wax, I would suggest. But everybody wants the exact same thing.
Yeah. Kurt on the text line here has a potential good idea, maybe a bit gimmicky, but how about 10 minutes 5-on-5? If no winner, 10 minutes 4-on-4. And then if still no winner, you go 3-on-3 until the winner has been decided. I'm like, why stop there? Go another 10 minutes, go 2-on-2. Another 10 minutes, go 1-on-1. Another 10 minutes, then it's just goalies.
No, and actually, don't kid. There was a tournament. There's the
KHL All-Star.
Yeah.
I saw the videos too.
Yeah. And even in minor hockey, it's been done in minor hockey tournaments, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
and
for those who didn't see, the KHL All-Star Tournament, they did hardest shot, but with the goaltenders. And some of them, nice shot. Most of them completely whiffed or fell or something. It was hilarious. And, like, that's what you got to do in All-Star games, All-Star tournaments, whatever. Just have fun with it, right? So.
I've been to an NHL All-Star game. Mm-hmm. I thought it was pretty cool. But again, this is before all the funky formats and everything that they've done. It was back when Vancouver hosted the game when, what is the name of the arena now? Rogers?
In Vancouver?
Yeah, Rogers Arena. Rogers Place is in Edmonton. Rogers Arena is in Vancouver. And so it was back when...
confused with Rogers Center?
That's right. It was back, because it opened as GM Place. So it was actually just when GM Place had opened, right across the street from BC Place. Maybe we should talk about the renovations being done there and the cost to build. No. We're done that.
You want to guess its capacity?
14? 15? 16? 16. I'll go 16,000.
Since 2002, it has been over 18,000.
Ooh, okay.
The entire time. Currently, it is 18,871 with at least 19,000 standing room.
Okay. But back when it was new... Mm-hmm. So it had that many people in it. That was the first All-Star game experience that I'd went to.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
General Motors Place.
Yeah.
Now Rogers Arena.
Yeah. Hey, fun fact, if you want to have and be the smartest person at the table, did anybody notice the subtle change that occurred during the Olympic hockey tournament? Again, both men's and women's?
I saw, I'm pretty sure I'm familiar with what you're talking about, but...
The boards?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you look at the first, I think it was the first 3 days of competition, men's and women's.
Yeah.
The boards were very, very dark, right? They don't put up sponsors in the Olympics like you do in North America, like you do anywhere else, right? So they had the Olympic logos and whatever, but they had a dark background.
Yeah.
If you want to have fun, look at the end of the tournament when they went to a light background. Reason being, so the goalies could pick up the pucks.
Yes, because was it Czechia or Slovakia or somebody who scored on the U.S. from like mid-ice.
Yeah, and they said the goalie couldn't see the puck.
Yeah, which I'm like, makes sense. And then I saw somewhere in an article, someone was like, they were planning to replace it anyways, so they ordered it 3 shades lighter or whatever. So there you go.
Fun fact, they did the exact same thing in 2010 in Vancouver. Just saying. You'd think that they might have learned a lesson there. Just saying.
What? Communication? No.
More of your comments coming from the Prairie Land Rentals text line. We'll get to your YouTube chat as well. Plus, we're going to get to the SportsCage ticker in just a moment. This is the SportsCage streaming on X, YouTube, and SportsCage.com. And, of course, we are live on 620 CKRM. A couple of games we're keeping an eye on the ice tonight. Prairie Junior Hockey League, Pilot Butte and Moosomin to take on the Steelhawks. Pilot Butte leads that best-of-3 Survivor Series 1-0. And up north, Prince Albert taking on Tisdale. Tisdale needs a win to get into the Saskatchewan Under-18 AAA Boys playoffs. It is the final regular season game for the league, and if Tisdale wins, well, then there's some math involved to see if they get in or if the contacts will get in. Just win and you're in. That is your SportsCage ticker brought to you by Extreme Hockey. Time to head out once again on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. We're heading to Croft Electric. Mr. Croft joins us, and Auto Trader 400. I've been brought to my attention that Curtis Gammon, our fantastic producer here at SportsCage, apparently ahead of you in the standings. He said it, not me.
He is ahead of you as well, by the way, Dave.
Yeah.
And I think now that you're in the NASCAR pool, I think you can go to Crofty and Dave. Or what's your actual nickname, Dave?
That I can say on the radio? I can't remember my nicknames. But
there you go.
But now that I'm in, we're on a first nickname basis. Well, I appreciate that. I do want to get your thoughts. Tyler Reddick goes ahead, takes the checkered flag. Were you surprised by that?
100% surprised. I'm not going to lie. I was up early watching the gold medal game, and there might have been a mid-race nap for me in the NASCAR race. But yeah, I mean, he won that race without a front fender.
Yeah.
Which at an aero-dependent track like Atlanta, that's pretty amazing. So that's 2 in a row for him, as well as Michael Jordan Racing. So that's setting a new stage. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Nobody likes surprises, right? And maybe some are good, some are bad, but the bad ones nobody wants. And you can help us with the work that you and Croft Electric are doing right now when it comes to making sure that we maintain our own personal power grid, if you will.
Excellent question. We were just talking about that in the office. Amy and I, we rolled out our preferred customer program the last couple months of it. We're really, it's -2-3 right now, and spring is around the corner. I know we're going to get some snow again tonight, but if you get in on the preferred program, we give you priority booking on those spring and summer projects. Let us come out, assess that electrical system in your home, shop, farm, barn, whatever it is, and we can get ahead of that, any problems, and then as well as we can start talking about those spring, summer projects that we all have in the back of, rolling around the back of our heads that are currently covered with snow, but we want to get to them as soon as we can. So we're happy to come out and assess and give you a quote and hit the ground running when the water starts running.
Now, I know that downtime is never a good time when we're talking to our producer friends, and when you become a part of that preferred customer program, you can go ahead and you can get some priority bookings, whether it's long-term or short-term help that you need, right?
Oh, for sure. And that also, you can jump the line on if you're a preferred customer, as well as you have access to our 24-hour calls. So we have a 24-hour number that we give out to preferred customers that, when you have those problems in the middle of the night, a lot of them can be fixed, but you want to give us a call, and sometimes we can talk you through them, or sometimes we'll send a tech out and make sure that whatever it is, a water bowl, something in your home, something in your business, something happens. We never like when emergencies happen, but we're here when they do.
You can follow Croft Electric on social media. You can find your website, or you can talk to a human being. What's the phone number, Crofty?
306-586-1333. And yeah, Amy's amazing. She'll juggle and get you in. And we do have appointments open this week and next week still for those, for anything really, but as far as those assessments for your electrical system.
It's funny, you say appointment, I need examination. I don't know why I keep picking Kyle Busch. Crofty, appreciate this. Again, have a great Monday, and we'll talk to you later this week.
Thanks, guys. You too.
Croft Electric, check them out today. They will help you out when you are in a pinch. It's time to take a break for news. Coming back on the other side with Double Talk and Darian Durant. This is the Sports Cage at sportscage.com and on 620 CKRM. Good afternoon, Saskatchewan. Into the final hour of the program. Dave Thomas filling in for Tegan Whitco on this Monday afternoon. Tegan a little under the weather, but she will be back in full force and fine spirits next week. Barney Shankrick returns from vacation tomorrow here on the Sports Cage. Boy, lots happening in the world, including 2 big minor hockey games that we're tracking. Blue Jays fall again in spring training. Maybe that's not the biggest thing, but everybody is talking about the Olympics, and we're going to do that now. From 5 rings to 2 Ds, it's Double Talk with Darian Durant.
It's time for Double Talk with Saskatchewan Rough Rider legend Darian Durant. Double Talk is brought to you by Campbell Safety Consulting. At Campbell Safety Consulting, we work towards helping companies create a competitive edge by executing a proactive health and safety program.
Legendary Saskatchewan Rough Rider quarterback Darian Durant joining us on the Western Pizza guest hotline. If you're looking for the perfect pie, tonight is the night. Stop in and see Western Pizza. Mr. Durant, great to see you. I hate asking friends for money, but I don't suppose you'd have an extra $7.9 billion laying around, because we could buy Seattle Seahawks franchise if we wanted.
I know, that would be amazing, right? Defending Super Bowl champs up for sale. That's kind of unheard of.
Oh. Could you imagine you win one of the Powerballs down there and all of a sudden you become the owner of an NFL team?
Wow, that would be amazing. I mean, if I could, continue to be in football in that capacity, then that would be the goal. Anything else where I have to deal with the day-to-day, no way.
I was saying, what would you do if you owned the team, right? For one day. Like, I think I would want to go and be on the practice field for one day, even though I have no athletic ability, and definitely be wearing a red jersey.
That would be fun. And being a younger guy, you don't see too many younger owners out there. So I would definitely get out there, get in the mix, be one of those owners that's always, in the drills, participating with the guys, be one of the cool owners, so to speak. So that would be exciting for me.
Would you follow the Indianapolis Colts ownership? Be on the sideline with the earpiece in?
Nah, I don't like that. I don't like that. That to me, that seems like a little too much pressure. You're already under enough pressure, but to have the person that's over everything, signs your checks, that she's on the headset with the coach, could be talking about you. It's just too much going on with that. So I don't like that form of ownership. But I would definitely be the behind the scenes guy that the guys could come talk to and form a relationship with.
I'm not going to kid you, and I really hadn't even thought about discussing this, but I would have thought almost by now that the NFLPA might have had a grievance or something with that. You're right. It seems really out of the ordinary.
Yeah, look, guys are under enough pressure on a day-to-day basis, week to week. You could possibly you're a bad game away from losing your job, and then the extra pressure of having the owner on the sidelines. And and this is no offense, but being a woman at that, who you kind of question, does she know enough about football? Is she making the right decisions with the personnel? It's just too much going on there. So I would definitely be uncomfortable.
Well, and again, if I own the team, you'd definitely be uncomfortable because I don't know enough either. So absolutely not.
Would you be a sideline owner?
Oh, I would be, but I would offer nothing.
Some owners just write checks, so you could be that.
Yeah, true. Again, if I had the money, I would write the check.
Yeah,
Darian, right now, Canada is enthralled with the Winter Olympic Games having wrapped up. Of course, the Canadian men's hockey team falling to the U.S. Where you are, what impact does the Winter Olympic Games have, if anything?
Well, it's a little bit different down here. Ever since I moved to Florida, I'm right around the corner from the Panther Stadium. I mean, hockey's exciting here, so it's a little bit different vibe being in this area, being where the Stanley Cup champs are. Hockey's a big deal here, so I'm sure in other places around the country, a lot of Americans don't really pay attention. But being in this area for the past 2 years has really opened my eye to how it could be in a hockey town.
So did you and the kids get up early and watch the game yesterday?
No, we didn't. We actually, what's crazy, we were at the Panthers stadium for a gymnastics competition for my daughter. So I was in the arena thinking about it for sure, but just wasn't able to pick up on it.
That's very cool. Well, there are some parallels in my world that are coming out of this hockey game, in the fact that Connor McDavid, by some, the Canadian captain, is being labeled as the guy that can't get it done in the big game. He has lost 2 Stanley Cup finals. He has now lost a gold medal championship game at the Olympics. How unfair is that to an athlete, and how much can that weigh on your shoulders?
Yeah, I think it's unfair, especially while he's in the prime of his career. I mean, just let it play out, give it some time. I'm sure him being, one of the best players on ice, he'll get it done at some point. I mean, he's right there on the cusp. But I mean, it's a lot of pressure that comes with it, especially when you lose. I can look back at losing my first 2 Grey Cups, and then there's a 4 or 5 year window before you get another opportunity to play in it, and then you get those labels. Well, can he win? Is he a choke artist in the big games? Whatever labels the media and fans may throw at you, I've heard it come my way, and it's just tough. So, I would think that, people, especially someone with his ability, being one of the best players in the world, you would just let his career play out, see how it goes, see if he gets to that point again and he loses, or he goes his entire career and doesn't win one, either a gold medal or a Stanley Cup, then you can maybe throw these things out there. But I look at John Elway, I look at Steve Young, some other guys who didn't win until later in their career, mid to late 30s, so to speak. I mean, you have to let these things play out. So there's a lot of pressure on them for sure. Canada is rich in hockey, and there's some high expectations there. And so I understand, but I just wish that more fans would, and critics would just give him some more time, let his career play out, and then, make all the criticisms you would like at that time.
When you talk pressure, right? So obviously you felt that. Can it be a positive and a negative thing at the same time?
Yeah, I would look at it positively for, just it gives you that fire. It gives you the motivation to go out there and just go a little bit harder, work out a little bit harder in the off season, whatever you have to do to push yourself just a little bit more to get to that point that can get you over the hump. But yeah, I mean, pressure comes with any and every position, but especially when, you have an entire nation that's looking at you as the guy and you failed a couple times. I mean, the pressure just mounts, it builds, and it could make them the most out of you, or it could bring you down. But Connor seems to be strong mentally. I think he'll be fine. He's only 29 years old, so I think he has some time to get it done.
Is that label of being unable to get the job done in the big game, or the term you use, choke artist, is that the most unfair label there is in team sports?
I think so, for sure. I mean, you can't do it alone. Even though in a sport like hockey, where there's only a few guys on the ice, the best players can easily separate themselves from the other. But this is a team sport. I mean, he's not the goalie. I mean, he can't get it done and, do everything out there. So at the end of the day, it is unfair, but it's just what comes with the territory when you decide to play these professional games.
Now, you mentioned right, after 2009 and 2010, before 2013. So did you fear, I don't know if you want to say feel that label, but hear that label? Did you believe that was around you at all? Or does that maybe in retrospect?
It's Saskatchewan. You hear it. I mean, okay. I read the articles. I can remember Jamie Nye actually saying, can Darian Durant get it done? Or will he go down as the guy that couldn't get it done? So, I mean, it's going to be thrown in your face in interviews. I think as his career goes on, he's going to be asked about it, especially when he gets into the playoffs. And if he could get into the Stanley Cup Finals again, there's going to be a question every single game. So, it's nothing you can run away from, because everyone's going to bring it up. The media especially kind of feeds off what the fans are saying on X and on Instagram, whatever the hot topics are. The media is going to feed off of that as well. So he can't escape from it. I think you just have to embrace it and use it as fuel as you go forward.
So obviously the clear motivation for you was always to win a championship every time you stepped on the field. You mentioned it just a moment ago. So it does continue to build that momentum until you get that opportunity to be on top of the hill?
For sure. I mean, as you get older, your career is not going to get any longer. Your days are numbered, and the pressure, it gets stronger and stronger as you get older. You may not have, may be down to your last year or two. So it's always amazing to get it out the way earlier in your career. Even if you win one, you won't be labeled as a guy who, I don't like to say failure, because I mean, when you make it to that level and you're such a good player, there's no way you're a failure. But when it comes to championships, I mean, some of the greats are basically judged off of their ability to win or how many championships they've won. So it's definitely something that could, ascend you to the next level of the way people view you. But I mean, you're not a failure at all.
One of the things that I will never forget about that 2013 Grey Cup championship game was just seeing the raw emotion on your face. And I'm not talking the trophy presentation, but like the moment you stepped off the field, off that stage, it to me, and again, I hope that I'm not putting words in your mouth, it seemed like there was a moment of realization of the accomplishment. Would that be accurate? And was that accomplishment getting that criticism off your back just as much as it was in the opportunity that you had to celebrate with your teammates?
Yeah, that's a part of it. I think it really doesn't hit you until the confetti starts falling and you're able to hoist the trophy and finally say, I did it. We did it finally. And I mean, there's no better feeling. And, to accomplish what we did at home, especially in front of Rider Nation, it was just crazy. And it still seems surreal to this day. But I mean, it's just so much that goes into it. It's finally a moment where you can say, and I think I said it in my post-game interview, I was like, for anyone who doubted me or had something to say, you can't say anything now because I'm a champ, and you can erase those first two L's because we got it done. But I mean, until you win, it definitely is something it's like the monkey on your back for sure.
So going into 2014, then, did the motivation change at all once you'd accomplished what was your ultimate goal?
Not at all. I think the opportunity to accomplish something that's never been done is something that motivated us going into 2014. We started off hot that year, and we knew that once Dress decided to go to give the NFL a shot, we had to kind of fill that void of a perennial 1,000-yard receiver, which was going to be hard to do. So we had to dig deeper as a team, knowing that one of our best players wasn't there for the first half of the season. So, I mean, I think that sometimes you can have a letdown after you win, but if you have a chance to accomplish something that's never been done, then it'll give you that motivation. And I'm sure the guys in Saskatchewan this year are looking at it like that as well.
Darian Durant, Double Talk with Darian is on here on the Sports Cage on a Monday, and I do want to ask you a quick question before I get back into some Olympic thoughts from you. When it comes to Weston Dressler, Rob Vanstone tells a terrific story on how this kid from North Dakota shows up and he's 5'0" and he's pretty quick and seems like he knows what he's doing, but all of a sudden, he said, in the second practice, you just knew there was something there. How soon did you come up with chemistry with Weston, and how soon did you know?
Well, you knew immediately. I mean, when he got out there, and it was just tough for guys like Eddie Davis and, some of the greats. They even said, man, this guy's going to be special. He's hard to deal with. You knew. And I think you can see in some guys, when they have it as soon as they step on the field, and Weston was one of those guys. So I knew immediately that in order for me to have success, I needed to work directly with him. So we would go after practice and get some extra throws in. We talk all the time in the film room about the spots that he liked the ball in and how he likes it. So, whenever you have a guy like that and he has a special gift, then you want to make sure you get in tune immediately.
And how was it then making the receiving room collaborative at that point? Because you had Getz, again, Rob Bagg is kicking around. You've got these guys, and here comes Weston Dressler.
It was easy, man. I mean, those guys, I think off the field relationships really matter in football because you spend so much time together every single day and you practice so much. In these other sports, you have so many games, you have a game every other night or so. But in football, you have one game every 6 or 7 days. So you have so much practice time together. So it was easy for those guys to develop that chemistry because they were naturally, compatible off the field. So once we got in the film room, we talked just like we would off the field. It made it easy. And, whenever you have a group of guys, when one knows they're not getting the ball, he's willing to run 100% down the field to clear out for the other. When you got guys that'll switch, and they'll just talk about it, they'll just switch immediately, not even have to ask because one guy's tired or one guy did it last time. When you have relationships like that, it makes it so much easier.
Darian Durant is an athlete. You're a 1%er, right? A guy that gets to play professional sports. Was there any point in your athletic journey that you thought, it might be pretty cool to be an Olympic athlete?
I never really thought that far because football was never in the Olympic Games. So I never really kind of pictured myself in that type of environment, but I'm sure it would be cool. And, I think that whenever you get a chance to represent your country and, be a part of that and be able to accomplish something that, even smaller than that 1% or that 0.5% that get a chance to go to the Olympics, I mean, that's just something amazing in itself.
Mutual friend of ours, when we ran into each other in Ottawa last year, says, Darian looks like he could still play. So let's throw out a scenario. Let's say that, you decide that you're going to move to Canada full-time, get your Canadian citizenship, and 2028 Team Canada's flag football team comes a-calling. Are you into the flag football team in the Olympics?
I'm in. Now, I definitely play flag. It's hitting the ground and having a big guy fall on you. That's the part of I'm in the part of my life where that just can't happen. But I can still move around a little bit. I take care of myself. I work out pretty much every day. So I would definitely try that flag thing out for sure.
Okay, we've got that on the record now, but there's a number of people that went to your alma mater in North Carolina, right, that went on to the Olympics. Like, that is such a cool thing, I would think, as one athlete observing another, perfecting their craft to become the best in the world.
Yeah, I mean, when I first got to North Carolina, I just went over to the soccer stadium, right? And I'm like, man, this is crazy. Like, this is bigger than my high school football stadium. And then you think about Mia Hamm and some of the other people that played in that stadium who built the tradition, who built up the program. And I mean, you name it, there are so many Carolina alum that have just been at the top of their profession. It's crazy. And then when you get these people coming back on campus, speaking to the current student athletes, that's what really brings out, the rich tradition of sports at that university. So, yeah, we've been lucky to have some of the greats in every single sport participate in the Olympics, win at high levels at their profession. So, it was really good being at that university for sure.
On our Prairieland Rentals text line, first of all, Devo in Indian Head wants to know if you're live in studio. It sounds like you're right next to me because you've got the best audio in the business, so thank you for doing that. Doug says we should let the CFL buy Seattle. That could be a challenge with an $8 billion price tag. I get that. Yeah. But then we've got Chris here that says, did I hear Darian say that he is coaching gymnastics?
Not coaching. I'm just a gymnastics dad. I have my T-shirt on. It says Amaya's dad. I support the team. And it's different for me being in a gymnastics arena and watching. You learn quickly how athletic some of these gymnasts are, man. Just the way they're able to just control their body weight, flip multiple times in the air. My daughter, she's doing that at 6 years old, man. It's just crazy. So, man, I have definitely a newfound respect for these gymnasts and what they're able to do out there. It's crazy.
Well, definitely has some genetic ability as well, right? From Darian Durant is her dad.
I would like to think so.
So, again, do you find yourself, watching through different lenses at practice and stuff? Again, it's hilarious sometimes as a dad, I would watch my kids participate in, you name the sport, and all of a sudden I was the biggest expert on said sport. Do you find yourself watching your daughter that way?
Not in a sense of knowing the sport, because I'm still learning myself and I'm trying to figure out what she needs to do to go from a 9.4 to a 9.7, different things like that. Is it toe pointing? What are the techniques? So I'm still learning myself. I think my job right now is to kind of keep her head on straight, keep her focused. Help motivate her. When she fails, she tends to get sad and cry a little bit and not really realize that you have 3 more events to go. You have to let that go, and you can't worry about your score on the bars. You have to go to the beam, the vault, the floor. You have all these other things to worry about. So I find myself being a mental coach more so than technique right now. But as I learn, trust me, I'm definitely going to coach her up.
See, it's funny because you should coach me up, because I'm still hung up on that last stupid question. If you were a coach of gymnastics, come on, Dave, you can be better than that. Doubles, but before I let you go, I just want to go ahead and get your thoughts real quick when it comes to the Olympic Games as a whole and Team Canada. Like I say, I know that there's a lot of pride that is going around. What would you say to the athletes that are coming back, whether they were successful in their competition or not? Because just getting to an Olympic Games is huge, and for an athlete to just get to that opportunity to compete and succeed, I think is a big win overall.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no reason to hang your head. I mean, as a guy who's lost in the biggest game numerous times, I mean, there's just no reason. Just use it as fuel, use it as motivation. You still have the support of your country, and just it's time to go to work. I mean, the team you lost to is a great team. Last time we won was 1980, Miracle on Ice. So you have to think that there's some type of fate there. It's due. It's just our time. I mean, the game went into overtime. You're right there, a play or two away. I'm sure guys are going to sit and rethink the game in their heads and try to figure out what they could have done to win the game. So there's really nothing to hang your head about. Canada is known for hockey. In my opinion, is one of the best countries in the world for hockey, and you guys will be back. So don't worry. It was just our time, and I'm a believer in sports that sometimes it's just not your time. And I think that in this case, it's just the U.S.'s time to win. It's been forever. And, it's just like that sometimes.
Okay. I said no more questions. Last question before I let you go then. Ever in your realm of possibility, would you have imagined that a dipstick named Dave Thomas that asked you probably a dumb question on the field after winning the 2013 Grey Cup, could you envision that 13 years later you would be analyzing hockey with him on 620 CKRM?
If you would have told me this back when I was playing, I'd say you were crazy. I mean, and even though Getz is my guy, we would talk hockey from time to time. And if I saw Ryan or whatever, I would ask him a question or two. But look, I would have never thought in a million years that I'd be right here talking about hockey or even paying attention to hockey to this extent to even have something to talk about. So it's amazing to me. But that just goes to show you just never know what life may have in front of you. So you just have to keep living and keep moving.
Glad that the dipstick part of the conversation didn't throw you off. Thanks, Darian.
I don't look at you like that. You're my guy.
Darian, appreciate you. Thanks again for doing this. Again, good luck at the next gymnastics meet, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Thank you. Sounds good.
Legendary Rough Rider quarterback Darian Durant. It's Double Talk on a Monday here on the Sports Cage. We are going to take a break and come back with a Regina Pat player that celebrated a significant milestone in his junior hockey career. They're going to join us next on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline, the Monday edition of the Sports Cage, brought to you by sasktoday.ca. It's just like your old paper, except you don't get ink on your hands anymore. sasktoday.ca. Check it out for yourself and be sure to subscribe to the daily newsletter to get that news delivered right to your inbox. The Sports Cage, we're streaming at X, YouTube, and on sportscage.com. And of course, we're live on 620 CKRM. There are games on the local ponds tonight. The Prairie Junior Hockey League, the Pilot Butte Stormer and Moosomin to take on the Steel Hawks. That is game 2 of the best of 3 Survivor Series. Pilot Butte leading the set 1-0. Moosomin needs to win to keep their season alive. And then in under 18 AAA boys action, Prince Albert taking on the Tisdale Trojans tonight. This is interesting. Final game of the under 18 AAA league. And if Tisdale wins, then they draw into a tie for the final playoff spot with the Saskatoon Contacts. There's a big tiebreaker and stuff that would have to be sorted out. It's interesting. Also in Grapefruit League baseball action today, the New York Mets defeated the Toronto Blue Jays 4-3. Of course, you can find out more by going to sportscage.com. The Sports Cage Sports Ticker is brought to you by Steel Craft Doors. As we transition over and still talk hockey, it's time for Pat's Chat with Dayton Deschamps of the Regina Pats joining us on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. Of course, the perfect pie every time. And, of course, all of your Greek favorites. Get them today. Dayton, great to see you. And first of all, let's start with the congratulations. 100th career Western Hockey League game against Penticton on Saturday night. Didn't get the result you wanted, but what does it feel to have 100 games under your belt?
Pretty cool. I never thought I would be in this situation. So to have those 100 games and see that online, it's a pretty cool accomplishment for me.
Absolutely. 7th round draft pick of the Saskatoon Blades once upon a time. What does that say about your resiliency? Because, again, when you're drafted in the 7th round, there's not a lot of heightened expectations that you're someday going to become as much of a prominent player on the roster as you are right now.
Just kind of what my parents have instilled in me is just to stick with it. And I had a lot of help with my midget team, with my GM from there, who helped me get to Regina and have this career so far.
Oh, I thought for sure you were going to throw out the Blazers name right there, especially when we're talking about the Contacts perhaps missing the playoffs tonight. No?
Yeah, no, it was the Blazers, Cole Shepard and I can't remember the other name, but they helped me a lot to get to where I am. So I'm thankful for that.
Now, as mentioned, you were originally drafted by your hometown Saskatoon Blades, which must have been a thrill at the time, but then right on New Year's Eve, 2023, you were traded along with Zach Moore to the Regina Pats. What was your reaction at that time?
I was shocked, to say the least. I didn't know that was in the works, and it was my dad's birthday that day, so we were celebrating it, and then out of nowhere I get this call saying that I'm going to Regina. So I was pretty shocked at first, but I'm happy the way it went.
And it seems to have worked out well as you become one of the most reliable and dependable defensemen in the lineup and playing your game, which I would suggest is a very physical game, but also a very responsible game. Would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, for sure. I've never been the most offensive guy, but I am the guy that can always be trusted to be put out in those situations where you don't want the other team to score. So, and I kind of just live by that.
Well, you've had a tremendous run here with the rest of your teammates over the last week and a bit. The lone blemish, that 100th game on Saturday night against Penticton. But prior to that, you go ahead, you put together a 5-game winning streak. What's been going right for the Regina Pats right now?
We're just really starting to click as a team, and we're really focusing. We all have the same mindset to play a certain way of hockey, and the last 5 games have just shown how much we want to win and make the playoffs this year.
How big of a focus is that in the dressing room, watching the standings night by night? Because you're in the thick of it right now, sitting in 7th in the second last playoff spot, if you will, in the Eastern Conference. But it was just a week ago that you were sitting in 9th.
Mm-hmm. It's been our team goal since the start of the year. So that's all we care about right now is making the playoffs, and we're doing everything we can to do that.
Prince George Cougars in town on Wednesday night. What are you expecting?
A fast and good team. They're definitely going to be a challenge, but we've shown that we can beat any team on a given night. So I'm excited for that one.
It's the second, or I guess third consecutive game playing a team only once in the season, right? In the BC division, now coming into the East division to play their games. Is it more difficult or maybe a little more fun preparing for a team you're only going to see once and don't have a lot of film on?
It definitely makes it interesting. The film does help, but when you play a team once, it makes it more fun because you have nothing to save it for, and you might as well just play your best against that team because you're never going to see them again.
2 questions left for you, my friend. Number 1, game number 100 is on Saturday night. Do you remember game number 1, and what was it?
Game 1 was in Prince Albert. And we won 3-2 in overtime in the Art Hauser, so that was a pretty memorable one.
Pretty stellar start for sure. Okay, last but certainly not least, Canada falls in the Olympic gold medal game, but I do need to go back to the final game of the round robin in men's hockey at the Olympics. No way were you cheering for French, even though you're fluent in French, right?
No, I'm Canada at heart, so I'm always going to be cheering for them.
Still very fluent in French, though.
Yeah, I try my best. I'm trying to remember as much as I can. So,
who do you speak French to the most?
My grandma, for sure. She speaks pretty good French, so whenever I go see her, we usually have conversations in French.
Your roommate is Zach Lansard, not him?
We have in the past a little bit. Last year with you and Hue, we'd talk some French with, but not so much this year.
Well, we're talking wins right now with your Regina Pats. Again, you guys are putting together a sensational stretch down the stretch run of the season. Continued success. Congratulations on 100 games, Dayton, and I appreciate you doing this today.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Dayton Deschamps from the Regina Pats and Pats Chat. They're back on the ice on Wednesday when they take on the Prince George Cougars. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with Daniella Ponticelli, who is living her Olympic dream, and she'll tell you about it when we come back in a moment. The Sports Cage, of course, on this Monday for sasktoday.ca. We're streaming at sportscage.com and on 620 CKRM.